welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson, live on YouTube. All brought to you by FanDuel. And Sam, we have a new Howard Hughes billionaire.
Yeah, we do.
So we have a new name for the studio, at least for today, because that's what we promised. When you join our membership tier, the Howard Hughes billionaire tier, you get to name the studio. And now that we have two, we might have alternating studio names. So for today, we're coming at you from, this is from Anonymous here. This person's anonymous.
Anonymous, yeah. Well, I mean, billionaires like the security.
The billionaire.
Think Elon puts himself out there like that?
Absolutely not. This could be Elon, for all we know, for all you know. Today's studio name, we're coming at you from the Bill Belichick is a fraud, Patrick Mahomes is overrated, and Sam Monson was wrong about Tom Brady arena. Mm-hmm. That is the name.
Catchy.
Of the arena that we're in the arena of ideas and such today.
I mean, on the one hand, you've got the Staples Center, and the other hand, you got that. You know,
that's what it is. So we'll be back in the Antonio Cromartie studio and Part with Huggies maybe Wednesday. Mm-hmm. But appreciate our newest billionaire, Sam. It's time for our Week 15 NFL reviews. 15 games to discuss. So pretty crisp. You get that heart out at 10:30.
Yeah.
Good luck. See how we do. Ready to go?
Let's go.
All right, right into it. It all started Thursday night. The Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Bucks. The Falcons get the win with a huge comeback over the Bucks on Thursday night, 29-28. Bucks fall to 7-7, which felt like pretty significant at the time until the Panthers happened yesterday. But it was. Bucks fall to 7-7. Falcons moved to 5-9.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty significant. It's just that the Carolina Panthers then helped them out. Wild game where, I mean, both teams were sort of trying to shoot themselves in the foot. The big thing, I mean, Atlanta, there was some stat where they won a game with the most penalties. You know, they had 19 total penalties over the course of the game. They had like 9 in the first 20 minutes or something.
19 penalties for 125 yards. The Bucks had only 4 penalties for 25 yards.
But Atlanta
100-yard difference.
Atlanta had 9 penalties in the first 23 and a half minutes of the game. That's crazy.
Wild and ugly game. They also fumbled twice, lost multiple fumbles late in the game, or fumbled twice late in the game. Lost one from Bijan. And it just, it felt like bad ball from the Falcons until it wasn't. Until they made their comeback. Yeah. And then it was Bucks playing bad ball. Baker Mayfield with a key interception, and they just could not convert to hold the lead.
Yeah, they couldn't. And some things went against them as well. Like, it was weird because on the one hand, you've got Atlanta, like, shooting themselves in the foot every 3 minutes with a penalty, much more frequently than that, actually. And then the other hand, a whole bunch of, like, weird plays bounced their way. Like, Darnell Mooney fumbled at one point, and there's a still frame of, like, 6 Buccaneers jerseys right around it, and somehow Mooney gets back on top of it. There was a strip sack late on where Hassan Reddick gets hold of the ball. Kirk Cousins drops it out somehow again. Cousins gets on top of it. They claimed simultaneous possession on a fumble recovery, which I can't remember seeing before.
That could have been the strip sack to end the
thing. Exactly. Ended the game with the defensive play. Instead, it's like, Cousins got a piece of that. Cousins, of all people. Like, what of how many quarterbacks would you imagine go to a pile and with defensive linemen, battle for possession of the ball? You're like, he probably got a piece of it. Kirk Cousins gets awarded simultaneous possession. A whole bunch of weird plays like that went against the Bucks. And it ended up being enough.
Bucks got up 28-14 early in the fourth quarter. So they're up 14. And then Falcons started to come back. We used to joke, this is where Kirk Cousins shines, right? You're down a couple scores, fourth quarter. Likes to pad those stats. It mattered in this game, though. They lead the comeback. They score. Bijan scores a touchdown. And then they're down 8. They do the whole, hey, down 8, let's go for 2. That 2-point conversion fails. Then they score another touchdown, Kirk Cousins to the great Kyle Pitts. They're down 2. That 2-point conversion also fails. So the second straight week, a team goes for 2, down 14, down 8, and they fail both times. It was the Browns last week. They never got to come back. But in this case, the Falcons got the ball again in time to kick the 43-yard game-winning field goal to win 29-28. So 17 points to 15 points to finish the game for the Falcons.
Feels like the 2-point conversion rate is terrible at the moment while teams are running the analytics play. Everyone's missing the 2-point conversion. Kyle Pitts going nuts is the other thing from this game. Like, they loaded him up relentlessly early in the game, and he was looking awesome.
I mean, that's the other thing to highlight in this thing. Kyle Pitts goes 11 catches for 166 and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Bijan,
one of which was, another one of those plays that went the Falcons' way.
Yeah.
Like, did his elbow hit out of bounds at the same time as his knee? Or his ass cheek or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Probably. Are we going to take it away? Nah.
Very close. But you're a rule of cool guy, so it was cool.
I would have let it stand, but, the NFL shouldn't have.
From a Falcons perspective, the reason why we've been high on them forever, and by the way, if you look at point differential, there's not much now between the Falcons, Bucks, and Panthers this year, but the Falcons are 5-9 and eliminated 2 games behind the Bucks and Panthers. But this was like the dude's game. Kyle Pitts, 11 for 166, Bijan, 8 for 82 through the air, plus another 93 and a touchdown on the ground. Or maybe it was just playing the Bucs defense. Kirk Cousins, remember, threw for 509 or whatever it was last year on Thursday Night Football. Throws for 373 in this one. Todd Bowles was livid after the game. 7 F-bombs they counted right after in his initial press conference trying to explain what happened. He was not pleased with the players, too. He said the coaches are doing what they got to do. It's the players.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, there's always a degree of truth to that. However, it does feel like his defensive scheme does not perform particularly well against, savvy veteran quarterbacks that have seen it a lot. And Kirk Cousins has seen it a lot. And, there are some limitations to Kirk Cousins' game, but one of them is not necessarily diagnosing the blitz that you're throwing at him. And this is now 2 years in a row where he's gone out there and just absolutely eviscerated the scheme. Maybe you might want to dial it back.
So the Bucs defense, they are to blame. Baker had a bad interception with about 8 minutes left in the game. Mike Evans did return, 6 catches for 132, looked good. And there was a point in this game where, again, they're up 28-14, and it was like, all right, now they're back. They had Jalen McMillan making his season debut after his preseason injury. They had Evans, they had Ibuka, they had Jalen McMillan, they had Chris Godwin. The first time they had all 4, even though Baker and Ibuka still not really on the same page. They're like just missing on a couple. It felt like the Bucs, were back in full force on offense until they weren't at the end. So again, was it a disaster? Yeah, at the time it was. It gave the Panthers the opportunity that the Panthers had yesterday. If they had just beaten the Saints, the 2 games we were talking about, all the Panthers would have to do is beat the Bucs one time, and could have had a chance to clinch the division next week. But we'll talk about the Panthers in a couple hours here. So 29-28, Falcons get the win, and again, Kirk Cousins throwing for 441 on Thursday night per game on Thursday Night Football against the Bucs over the last 2 years. How about that? What else you got?
Not much from that game. I think it was a blown opportunity for Tampa Bay. Now, it's worked out well for the neutrals amongst us because now those 2 games, Carolina and the Bucs, are everything. I mean, they're going to mean everything. They're going to go down to that final game. So from that perspective, it's good for the neutrals. From Tampa Bay's perspective, this was a game you had in hand, and you let slip away, and then it turns out Carolina were going to give you, a gift. So blown opportunity.
Exciting football for neutral fans like us coming up in the coming weeks. So the NFC South, Bucs are tied atop the South at 7-7, along with the Panthers. Let's get to Sunday's action, starting with the Buffalo Bills getting the win, 35-31 over the Patriots. Bills move to 10-4. Patriots fall to 11-3. What a game this ended up being. Patriots got up early, 21-0. Drake May with 2 rushing touchdowns right off the bat, then a 52-yarder from Travion Henderson. The route is on from New England. Patriots fans getting pretty cocky as they got up early. They were a little they were upset that they were underdogs in this game against Buffalo, but then Buffalo reminded them why they have won the last 5 AFC East championships.
The Bills are the worst against the spread first half team in the NFL this year. They're 3-11 against the spread this year, which is the worst mark in football. And not just Patriots fans. Obviously, fans tend to get, carried away with the flow of the game. But beat reporters and stuff were out here being like, you see, the Bills, they're nothing. The Patriots, they're just this good. It's like, have we learned nothing in the NFL ever? Like,
Have you ever watched a football game before?
just in any given week, let alone, your team. But like week on week on week, these things happen, Maybe,
Never mind a team with Josh Allen
like, what would
at
the
the
score,
helm, who's been good.
What would the score need to be before you were like 95% confident that this could never bite you in the ass?
I would say 33-0, but wasn't that the comeback a couple
Correct.
of years ago?
Yes, Minnesota against Indianapolis.
Right. Like we've never watched an NFL football
It would need to
game
be 38 would be the number where I'm like even thinking about it, like tweeting something really declarative that would look stupid if it
would
goes
have
the other
to
way.
be the 99 Jags beating the retiring Dan Marino 38-0 in the middle of the second quarter, hypothetically speaking.
Right.
Hypothetically. Anyway, it was 21-0. Buffalo crept back into it just before the half. Josh Allen to James Cook. That was a big drive, big touchdown to get within 2 scores before the half. New England answered, though. They had a nice little field goal drive before the half, so it's 24-7.
The big thing was
the
kick return to start the second half for Buffalo. A huge kick return, 24-7. They get, a touchdown that drive. Now they're alive. And it's like, all right, we can work with this. Obviously, anytime you're starting a comeback like that, you need your defense to make some plays as well. Tre'Davious White had a couple of spectacular plays against Matt Collins. He had a really nice pass breakup on one play, then has a great interception that kind of served as an arm punt, one of those deep bombs down the sideline. He picked it off. But at that point, those couple of plays, Buffalo's now back with a chance to even take the lead at that stage. Like, it evaporated fast.
Yeah, in the second half, Josh Allen finds Dawson Knox to make it 24-14. They stop New England, sack on third down against Drake May, and then come back again. James Cook, really nice touchdown run for 3 yards. They called him short, reviewed it, gave him the score to make it 24-21. And then I thought the key play, Buffalo looked like they had shot themselves in the foot. A 13-play, 91-yard drive. Josh Allen runs it in for a touchdown. It gets negated by a hold, so it's 3rd and goal from the 14.
Yeah.
So it looks like, hey, they're down 3. They're going to settle for a field goal. Josh Allen pulls out his magic again, breaks the pocket, zips one into Dawson Knox, 14-yard touchdown on 3rd and goal from the 14 to make it 28-24. But the fun part about that in this back-and-forth game, even though that was the first lead for Buffalo, New England comes right back at Travion Henderson with another long run, a 65-yard touchdown to take the lead.
In which Drake May sprints 50-something yards to spring the block on the last DB who could have stopped the play. There was 2 guys running to try and cut off Travion Henderson. There was Cole Bishop, I think, who was trying to run him down and didn't quite make it. I think it was Tre'Davious White who had the angle to come over the top and probably would have made the tackle. Only quarterback Drake May is sprinting 50 yards ahead of Travion Henderson to get the block on Tre'Davious White and make sure that he can go the distance as long as he can outrun Cole Bishop. Insane play. That's serious wheels from Drake May.
Was he just padding his NGS numbers?
Probably.
Did we get a top speed?
I don't know that they give you top speed on just like ancillary running involved in this play.
They do.
Yeah, but they don't publish it anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know if it's published. It's usually just ball carrier stuff, but it's obviously it's there. The chips in the shoulders.
Yeah, I'm not saying they turn off his chip during that play. I'm just saying it doesn't appear anywhere.
Buffalo came back. They scored the lead, scored a touchdown to take the lead, 35-31, and then made the key stops on New England. There were a couple. I don't know some of your thoughts on some of the downfield penalties, calls and non-calls. I know some Patriots fans were upset with the Tre'Davious White interception that you had mentioned, either contact there or going the other way. Marcus Jones getting called for pass interference, and then that was called a catch by Khalil Shakir down the field.
Yeah, I didn't think was pass interference, the Marcus Jones thing, but I didn't think that was a catch either. Like it was.
Yeah, Jones came up.
At no point did he have possession of that ball.
We've had a weird couple calls where they're calling a catch where it never really was.
Yeah, well, that was one of
the other way.
That was one of those ones where they were like the sort of simultaneous possession thing, but like at no point did he have possession of that football at all. It just sort of vaguely went, like a piece of it. But Marcus Jones has that from start to finish. I think that was a bad call. The Tre'Davious White thing, I think, was fine. That was just good coverage, good play.
So Buffalo, look, they're technically a game behind New England right now. I have not looked forward to where the tiebreakers go because they've both split the series here.
By the way, to basically seal the game, Joey Bosa batted pass. Like the important, Joey Bosa keeping bubble wrap for the playoffs. I mean,
I was wrong.
This is effectively not a playoff game, but a really important game for Buffalo. And it's Joey Bosa with a sort of batted pass, if you like, on the key late down Drake May scrambling into the open field. He's got a receiver. Like, he's going to be able to make this play, keep the drive going. And Bosa gets a piece of the ball, fourth down, game over. Bills take over, run it out. So, I mean, he is that important player for them. Like, those are the plays that are the difference between winning and losing playoff games, and Bosa was the guy making that play at the end.
A lot from a storyline perspective here. I mean, Buffalo, for what's there's been some low points this season where it's like, oh man, Buffalo. I remember a few weeks ago, Buffalo fans, Bills fans sitting there be like, what's wrong with our offense? We don't throw the ball down the field. We don't do this or that. But when it comes down to it, second half against Cincinnati, second half against New England, they could put points on the board and they could do it in a hurry. You have Josh Allen, even though he only throws for 193 technically in this game. You have Cook in the run game. You have Allen in the run game. And you can create big plays. It's all there. But they've had their ebbs and flows this season, and they're sitting here at 10-4. At worst, they're probably the 5 seed. As I've said, that might not be the worst thing in the world versus winning the division. It might not be the worst thing in the world if you have to go into Pittsburgh. Maybe if it's going into Baltimore, but we'll see. I mean, either team, if you go into Pittsburgh or Baltimore for the first round game. So New England still controls their destiny in the division, but they play Baltimore next week. And, Buffalo, they're right back in this thing as far as the division goes. I think for New England, it was a good back-and-forth game. It looked like they had a chance to really make a statement. They're going to be disappointed with their second half. The offense really stalled out when they needed to make a few conversions and give the defense a break, other than 165-yard touchdown from Travion Henderson.
Yeah.
I mean, multiple, but I'm saying like in the second half, that's pretty much all they could muster against Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, for Buffalo's perspective, I don't think it really matters what seed they are. I mean, you would assume the number 1 seed is gone. Is it actually gone, technically? Whether
they're
or not it's
2 games behind.
Right. Whether or not it's technically gone or just practically gone, they're probably not getting home field advantage, at which point nobody in the AFC playoff picture is really going to scare Buffalo necessarily. Like, they would expect to be able to beat any of these teams, including New England, who they just beat. So it was big from that perspective, just to show that, hey, like, it would have been damaging, I think, if they lost to New England. And, the second game, first game, I think you could talk yourself into, maybe we were the better team. We shot ourselves in the foot more than they beat us, and we're still the better football team. If they'd gone out then and then lost a second time, like, that would have been damaging to their confidence, and maybe they wouldn't have been that type of team. But to go out and beat New England, to execute the comeback that they did, you can at least go into the playoffs and say, no, we can still go and beat any of these football teams. And even if we got to go on the road to do it, so be it. Obviously, the number 1 seed is a different thing. You get the bye, you get the home field advantage the whole way. But if that's off the table, then I don't think it really matters if they're hosting the first playoff game or if they're going on the road, wherever. And then, yes, if you happen to get the 5 seed and you end up going to Pittsburgh or whatever, Baltimore, I mean, that's the ideal one because neither one of those teams looks particularly good.
Technically, Buffalo's the 6 right now. The Chargers have the tiebreaker over the Bills, but just something to keep an eye on for where they're going to end up. I think from New England's perspective, again, all season we're saying, hey, haven't played a ton of good teams. You beat Buffalo in Buffalo, but I think this is going to be a good battle in the coming years. Drake May's Patriots and Josh Allen's Bills. At the very least, New England, radio hosts and stuff. Yeah. New England radio was like, we took the division back. We're back. Throughout this season, it's like, no, this is going to be a back and forth battle, I think, in the coming years.
And I know that they end up losing the game, but I still think that this is, when you're looking at their schedule this year and you're like, it is a ridiculous cakewalk. So trying to analyze how good or otherwise this team is difficult. This was one of the legitimate tests on their schedule. And okay, they lost the game, but I think you would say they at least met the challenge. Like, they killed them in the first half. And then even in the second half, when Buffalo came back and took the lead, they swung back and they answered a couple of times. And, late they had the ball. They had a pass there, and Joey Bosa breaks it up. Like, you would look at this and say, it's not like they were exposed as frauds in one of their one difficult game down the stretch. Like, they rose to the challenge. They showed that they could hang with a team like Buffalo and are at worst, right there as a coin flip with them.
And I would say if if the easy schedule helped New England on either side of the ball, I think it was more the defense that got helped. And so even though the offense, they only scored 7 points in the second half and it was one 65-yard run, I still think the defense was the side of the ball that got, had the favorable run of lesser teams that they played against. And maybe that was the part that is more concerning for New England. But I think that's the world we live in. We always get to the end of the season and say, hey, playoff time, this weakness is going to come back to bite. This was a playoff caliber game where if you're a Buffalo fan and you want to say, hey, we gave up 246 on the ground, 246 on the ground. How's our run defense going to play in January? Well, if you're in New England, you could say the same thing, right? We gave up 168 on the ground. We blew this 24-7 lead. Like every team's going to roll into January with some kind of flaw that they could look back on, which I think is going to make this playoffs now without a juggernaut out there, without a previous juggernaut like the Chiefs or anything like that in the playoffs. I think it's going to be even more fun as we head into playoff time here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so obviously a huge game, playoff caliber game in the AFC East, even though New England at 11-3 still sits there with the number 2 seed in the AFC and sitting atop the division. Anything else on this one?
Nope.
All right, the other division playoff caliber game, it was in Kansas City. The Los Angeles Chargers get the win 16-13 over the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been eliminated from the playoffs. Chargers moved to 10-4. Chiefs fall to 6-8. They were already on the cusp of elimination. And on the game-winning drive or game-tying drive attempt, Patrick Mahomes goes down injured, grabs his knee, and we find out after the game it is a torn ACL for Patrick Mahomes. Game ends with Gardner Minshew coming in, throwing a game-ending interception, second straight possession ending with an interception for the Chargers to seal the win, to get to 10-4 and eliminate the Kansas City Chiefs from the playoffs.
Yeah, so you've obviously got the two different parts to that. The first part, which is, Kansas City entered this game knowing that they could be eliminated today just based off the other AFC results plus this game. And the Chargers they did their part. They were, they had the lead and Mahomes was the ball trying to rescue the Chiefs again. And then the knee gets hurt. And this is the same knee that he's been dealing with for a few weeks now. Who knows exactly what that was heading into the game, but then he's on the run. His left knee kind of hyperextends. He goes down. He's immediately clutching it. And you're like, that looks pretty bad. And then confirmed it's his ACL. So you've got their season's dead officially. Plus now Mahomes goes down in mid-December and you're looking at the kind of recovery timetable, and you're like, well, they're up against next year, forget this year, and now you've got this whole is the dynasty dead deal. What kind of condition is Mahomes going to be coming back next year? He spent basically the entirety of this year, trying to do more himself than he's done in the past. I mean, right from the early weeks, you saw him working, running the ball in himself, being like, I'm going to take over playoff type Mahomes of like, I'm doing this by myself because I don't trust anybody around me to make the play. Late in the game, same thing. I mean, this game, very early on, he takes it in himself for a rushing touchdown. Late in the game, he's on the run trying to make it happen. Like, Mahomes had assumed more responsibility for trying to make this thing happen himself this year than he ever had in the past. And ultimately, that ended up costing him.
So they had, there's a lot to unpack in this game. Game flow-wise, you mentioned the Mahomes touchdown. They got up 7-0. They were up 13-3 just before the half. I thought Spags was getting after it again in this game. Remember, this Chiefs defense goes through spurts where it looks like they have QBs in a blender. Especially, look, Mahomes is playing with second and then in this game third-string tackles at points, but Herbert's been doing that all season, right? Mahomes and the Chiefs have been doing that the last couple weeks.
12 different offensive line combinations for the Chargers this year, which is the second most in the NFL, and that can't include Rashawn Slater either, who went down before the season. So.
Right, like Slater and all. He's been down his starting 2 tackles the majority of the season because Slater went down, and then even beyond that, they're pulling Bobby Hart off the street.
Yeah, 12 different offensive line combinations just immediately would be terrible. But the fact that even before that, you lost one of the best left tackles in the NFL.
I just want to throw proper credit at the Chargers in this one first, and then circle back to what this means for Kansas City. So the Chargers are down 13-3, and Herbert makes a huge throw to Trey Harris to get to the 23, and it looks like, hey, just before the half, Chargers getting the ball coming out. Maybe they could kick a field goal, get within a score, and then with 5 seconds left, Herbert hits Keandre Lambert-Smith in the back of the end zone with an incredible throw. Herbert had 3 or 4 just laser beams in this game that I think were the difference in this game. Because, it looked like there were it wasn't as bad as Monday night where he was under pressure on, 3/4 of his dropbacks, but it was close. Like, it was, especially before Chris Jones got banged up. Jones got banged up in this game as well. And Herbert stood in there and made some incredible throws to get the Chargers back in this, and then they started to run the ball pretty effectively. But they were down 13-3. They scored just before the half, and that got them back in it, obviously, just being able to get it to 13-10 just before the half. And then the Chargers defense shut down Kansas City in the second half. A couple 3-and-outs or just, quick drives in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, 16-13 game, Mahomes still in the game, and he throws a red zone interception. Deion Henley with an incredible play up the sideline.
Amazing catch.
And that was when it was a 3-point game, right? From Kansas City's perspective, you're at least in field goal range to tie it. Mahomes forces one. Again, there's quick pressure, and he forces it. Henley makes the play, and then the Chargers made the final stop when it was Minshew coming in for Mahomes with another interception. But the Chargers, Derwin James, Henley, they made some huge plays, shut out the Chiefs in the second half.
They did. It was a huge game for the Chargers. Like, credit to them just for getting this win. They have a tough schedule on the way in. This was a team, in Kansas City who've obviously been the boogeyman in that division, the big bad, and they went out there and not just knocked them out of the playoffs, but solidified their own position as well in a difficult AFC playoff race. So really impressive from them. If the MVP was decided in sensible means as opposed to just storyline and stats, like Justin Herbert would have a really strong MVP case this year. 12 different offensive line combinations. He's been pressured basically more than any other quarterback in the NFL. PFF has Justin Fields with a slightly higher number, but Justin Fields is the type of quarterback that gets pressured more than anybody else just because he's a bad quarterback.
Holding it forever. That includes plays where you're scrambling or vacating the pocket. Herbert's not doing that.
Right. Justin Herbert's is like a legitimate league-leading pressure rate because his offensive line is hot garbage. Justin Fields is, I'm a bad quarterback, so I get pressured a lot. Those are two slightly different data points. But despite being pressured basically more than any other quarterback in the NFL, Herbert is out here dropping, lasers left, right, and center at every game, being the difference between winning and losing when it happens, with his, fake broken hand with the, plates and screws and stuff bolted in it to make it look like it's a prosthetic. Like, he's out here playing incredible football week on week, despite being battered, coming off that game where you're like, if that sort of, how much of an ass kicking you took the week before is ever a factor the following week, you would be like, this is the week. It's going to be a thing. Justin Herbert got absolutely battered a week ago and still went out there and looked phenomenal. Like, Justin Herbert has a strong MVP case, and I have not seen his name mentioned once this year.
Well, because the stats won't be there.
Right.
Right. It's for all the reasons,
it's
right?
Decided by stupid means.
It could be stats. It could be EPA. Whatever stat you want to put out there, it's not there. But, yes, on the week-to-week, there's a handful of games where I remember when they were 3-0 at the beginning of the season, I'm like, Herbert's playing MVP caliber football, right? And it's like key plays against the Chiefs in week 1, against the Broncos in week 3, against the Eagles last week, against the Chiefs this week. It may not be there down to down, play for play, throw for throw, but in key situations, Herbert is making some incredible plays, and he did in this one as well, as did the defense, made the key stops when they needed to. The Chiefs on their side of the ball, they lost, so they were already down their 2 starting tackles. Jalen Moore, who's a starting caliber tackle, but technically a backup, right? He's in there playing right tackle. He got banged up twice, had to come out. So they're banged up at tackle. You could kind of feel that as well. Mahomes, you could tell, was feeling that. There was also a point in the second half where the Chiefs were losing a defensive player on almost every play. I mean, it was like six out of 7 plays or something like that. They had someone go down, including Chris Jones, who missed a few snaps in there as well.
Every player in the NFL got hurt yesterday.
Yes.
All of them. And usually most of the good ones. Like, it was amazing. The injury toll from yesterday alone seemed absolutely brutal. We've obviously already talked about Mahomes, but we're going to get to some other, playoff-changing injuries that happened yesterday. Tony Jefferson got ejected for, I think, just one monster hit. Now,
just the one hit, yes.
But he was out there like it was at least his third very big hit in the game. It's just that it was only one that was illegal, which got him ejected. I think it was a great example of why rugby does a lot of things wrong when it comes to like head contact and, this, how do you modify behavior, and like the NFL does it with fining people, Yeah, we may or may not call it as a penalty in the game, but afterwards we're going to take $50,000 out of your game check. I hate that as a concept. Rugby does it in a different way, and I think there's some problems with how they do it. But one thing I think that it does, which is good, is they have this concept of mitigation. And I think this is a perfect example of a play that needed mitigation. Basically, the two guys are coming from the opposite direction. Was it Tyquan Thornton, where the ball's thrown his direction? Thornton then sees the hit coming, effectively. So, number one, part of this whole, is he a defenseless receiver? It's like, can he do anything to avoid the hit? Well, he quite clearly sees it coming and tries to duck. In the course of ducking to try and get the hell away from the hit, he drops really quickly right at the moment Jefferson is about to nail him, right? Jefferson comes in, gets actually very low, and because Thornton dropped into the hit, it ends up being head-to-head. Now, rugby would say the onus is on the defender. You're the guy delivering the hit. It's your fault that you struck him in the head, right? Okay, fine. No problem with that. So immediately it is a penalty of some kind. Now, what rugby would then do is say, but there's mitigation in that he dropped very quickly just before you hit him, which is not really within your control, right? So the fact that it became helmet to helmet is at least partly because that guy dropped right before you hit him. And that would go, so if we started off with a red card, ejection, you're out of here, we would then drop it down to, say, a yellow card because the reason it's head-to-head is because he dropped right before you hit him. I think this is a case of that. Like, that is not – he's not out here going, I'm going to take his head off. He's going, I'm going to deliver a really hard hit across the middle because that ball's into my zone, and, we're not standing for that. And then when Thornton drops right ahead of him, it's like, oh, now that became a head-to-head hit, and we're in trouble. And that's what got him ejected. I think that's harsh.
And we've seen – so the NFL's rule is you control your helmet.
Right.
You control it.
Which is nice, but it's not really true.
Not in bang-bang plays like that. We've seen worse, as in like Brian Branch, who I love Brian Branch, but we've seen him like literally throw his helmet at people. We saw Kareem Jackson a couple years ago throw his helmet at people.
I think you need to differentiate plays where it was always going to be helmet to helmet from the reason this is helmet to helmet is because right before you hit him, something changed the picture. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I also agree that, I don't like the argument that people make all the time, which is, well, what did you expect him to do? How could he have avoided that? Well, you can always have avoided it by simply not attempting the hit in the first place. And, there are times where you can say you are simply not in a position to make a hit because it will always be illegal from the position you put yourself in, right? Like the original sin is not what you did at the time of the hit. The original sin is like the step you took 2 seconds before where you put yourself too far out of position and you're no longer capable of making this play, right? So I don't agree with the idea of like, well, what do you want a defender to do? Sometimes the defender is simply not in position to make a legal play, and that's his own fault, or simply the fact that he was beaten by the play. But I do think that there's a world where you say it's a penalty, but it shouldn't be an ejection because something changed the picture right before the hit.
Second straight week, so that was Thornton getting smoked over the middle. Rashee Rice took maybe an even bigger hit, a third down over the middle, and it was a legal hit, and he got popped
by Jefferson.
If you're watching by Jefferson, and you're watching the Chargers and the Texans the last couple weeks with no deep ball in this offense, right? With no ability to get the ball down the field, you've been seeing more man coverage, and when you play man coverage, you usually have a hole defender, right? You usually have an extra defender who's surveying the middle of the field or whatever it may be, and just making you feel it when you throw the ball over the middle. That's what I think Chiefs fans have been feeling when they say the offense is missing something. The receivers are not either creating separation or the offense is too stale, and we're going to hear this all offseason. What are the changes coming to Kansas City? But yesterday's game, maybe a microcosm where they were unable to create anything down the field. And all the short stuff, the Chargers were not only sitting on it, but making those receivers pay.
And it was the second time just in this game that Rashee Rice was lit up by a big hit as well. Derwin got him earlier in the game as well. There's a little world of schadenfreude of people, rejoicing in the hits that Rashee Rice is taking because of that hit and run thing where he, racing in the streets, leaving people hospitalized, and all of a sudden he's getting hit and run by NFL defenders. So I'm making no moral judgment on that whatsoever, but, other people are pleased to see the hits that Rashee Rice has been taking the last couple of weeks.
The meme accounts are attacking there. So here's what's happening here. The Chiefs are out of the playoffs. Well, let's talk the Mahomes injury here.
Yeah.
Even if it was like a bone bruise in his left knee and they had been eliminated. They have 3 games left. They're going to play the Broncos Christmas night, and they have the Titans and Raiders sandwiching that game. Their season's over anyway. Mahomes will still not play a snap when he's eliminated. He's got that the Tom Brady stat after 22 years. I saw people
it's true. Depending on how you phrase that.
Yeah. Right. He will still not have played a snap.
Correct.
While being eliminated from playoff contention. Yeah. So, Doctor, what does this for next season? We're in a golden age of medical ACL recoveries and everything. I don't think the beginning of a season. So I saw Dr. Chow say
it's like a 9-month thing, right?
Yeah, but he says it's ACL plus. It's probably ACL and LCL. That still might not matter a ton as far as week 1 goes. What are your thoughts as a son of doctors?
Yeah, I don't have a lot.
Okay.
I mean, look, the Achilles is the thing where the timetable has been rapidly, accelerated in the last few years. I think ACLs are still pretty much what they've been for a while. So we're talking generally a 9-month recovery for this, which is putting him up against the start of the season next year. Obviously, I mean, I would assume he's going to be ready for week 1, however that looks. But I would also assume that early in the season, you do not see Mahomes the way he started this season, which is I'm scrambling every significant third down. Like, I'm trying to make the plays. Like, remember when he hurt himself last time with the sneak, right? And they're like, they still don't put him under center. Right. So the Chiefs are weird in that every time something significant happens, like a real statement, defeat or injury or whatever, they react like with a powerful swing of the pendulum back in the opposite direction. Mahomes gets hurt one time in a freak sneak play, and they're never going to put him back under center for a sneak as long as he plays. Like his entire career, he's not going to go back under there for a sneak. They get wrecked in the Super Bowl where their entire offensive line is in bits. So they go and spend more money on the offensive line than anybody else in the NFL. They're like, that's never happening again. Now you've got Mahomes out here scrambling left, right, and center trying to make plays because nobody else is. Are they going to you're never leaving the pocket again? Never run, never scramble. You're going to go full, this is the Jackson Dart intervention that we're going to have here. We're going to sit you down. You're like, you stop it. No more. Is that going to happen based off the previous past?
Well, now you have confounding variables because even a healthy Mahomes going into this offseason, the Chiefs are going to have their own, hey, where are we where are we putting resources now in the coming years? This could have been Travis Kelce's last time catching a pass from Patrick Mahomes. Does this actually motivate Kelce to add one more year? He still had 7 for 70. He's still a good possession tight end right now. I don't think he's cooked as an NFL player unless he doesn't want to play anymore. So you got the Kelce watch. You have what are they going to do offensively around Mahomes in the coming years? Does Mahomes change his playing style at all coming off the injury? Does the injury affect him for half of the season next year? Then he's running around and fine. Most ACL injuries, it might take a little time to recover, but the fact that he's always been the 1 mile an hour faster than the guy chasing after him, I think there's still elements of that's true. But he got sacked 5 times yesterday again, and the sack rate continues to go up for Mahomes every year. So he's at a bit of a crossroads in his career. Does playing style change? You have the injury, and does the offense change? And I have a feeling the first thing is they might go workhorse type of running back or some dynamism and running back, but they might be playing whack-a-mole on this roster going into next year. So it'll be a fascinating offseason for Kansas City. Unfortunate that Mahomes also gets injured on top of the fact that it's just an interesting team-building story for this team that's won the 3 Super Bowls and is in a bit of a crossroads in how they're building the team.
Yeah, it was already going to be an interesting offseason for them in terms of where did it go wrong? Previous seasons you've been able to point to something and say, well, clearly the offensive line fell apart here. Let's go spend the money in the offensive line. Even forget the Mahomes injury for a second. If you were saying, okay, the season ended yesterday, what was the board? What was the cause of death, right? What is the terminal problem that this football team had, and what do we go and fix in the offseason? I don't necessarily know that there's an easy answer to that for Kansas City. There was a bunch of little things, and we're talking about like the plays that they made last year, the little play here or there, they just didn't make them this year. But that was everywhere. It wasn't like this one group crapped themselves, and that was the issue. So you were already, I think, in a difficult spot of, I'm not 100% sure what to go and fix. And then you have Mahomes got himself injured, scrambling, trying to make plays with his legs. And you're like, well, now you add on top of that, like, do we need to fundamentally change or minimize or reduce Mahomes in this particular area? And what do we therefore need to improve, going forward to pick up that slack and make that happen? I think you're right. One of the most obvious areas that they were already trying to focus on, with that Breece Hall offer before the trade deadline is let's go and get a true, like, alpha number one, workhorse lead back, somebody that's a difference maker in the backfield. Maybe that's one obvious way that you do it to try and take the pressure off everything. But, yeah, an interesting offseason for Kansas City.
All right, so in this game, Chargers are now 10-4. They're officially the 5 seed with the tiebreaker over the Bills, who are the 6 seed. It might be locked up as far as the wild cards go. Chargers at 5, Bills at 6, Texans at 7. Not locked up as far as order, but locked up as far as those being the teams. I think one of the biggest things to potentially change is Steelers-Ravens and who's actually going to win the AFC North. But it looks like the wild card situation with the Colts with a 44-year-old quarterback, it could be Chargers, Bills, and Texans here as the wild cards.
Yeah, according to NFL.com, they're now all over 90% chance of making the playoffs.
With the Texans, by the way, still have a chance to win the South. Like, there's still some things to figure out. But the AFC playoff picture, the top 7, is close to locking in now.
The
top 7 or 8 with the North.
The division is the only thing still on the line, effectively. Yesterday almost solidified the wild card spots. The only difference is who's going to win the AFC North. Like Pittsburgh versus Baltimore is still fairly up in the air.
And potentially the South with the Texans and Jaguars.
Obviously the Chiefs got eliminated yesterday. In reality, the Colts got eliminated yesterday as well. And now the only question is seeding order and then who wins that AFC North.
All right, quick break to talk about today's sponsor, IM8. I'm exhausted today, Sam.
Yeah?
Little sleep.
I got woken up the alarm hit right in the middle of the sleep cycle, and you're like, ah.
So, we slept like 4 hours last night. We got to get up early, 7 a.m. on Mondays. Hard to keep the energy levels up, but I got my IM8.
Nice.
I'm going to
What's that?
back on track.
ASMR, right, is that the thing? Get the sound effects going.
I'm not good with the sound effects. We'll work on that. But IM8's Daily Ultimate Essentials, that's where they come in. A daily all-in-one wellness drink that gives my body the support it needs without juggling a bunch of different supplements. Co-founded by David Beckham and crafted with insight from experts at Mayo Clinic, Cedars-Sinai, and a former NASA chief scientist.
Sir David Beckham to you.
Sir David Beckham, of course. It simplifies your wellness routine and makes it easier to support your health. The drink's loaded with 92 nutrient-rich ingredients and designed to help you feel good from the inside out. What makes IM8 stand out is how it combines science with nature. They use effective ingredients and back them with research. Plus, it's been through clinical trials where 95% of participants felt more energetic and 85% said their digestion improved. It's vegan, it's gluten-free, it's non-GMO. It's also NSF certified, which means all the ingredients are third-party tested for purity. You can feel confident about what you're putting into your body, making it a solid choice if you're focused on your health. So as I said, I love it on a morning like this. Keeps me focused, keeps me sharp, and ready to go for a 3-hour-plus show. Feel your best self every day with IM8. Go to im8health.com/CTM and use code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order. That's IM8, HEALTH.com/CTM, code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order. im8health.com/CTM, code CTM. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. By the way, really quick, before we get into a Bears Victory Monday here for producer Will, quick shout out, our preseason bets. We have Drew Ferris, who predicted, we had a couple people predict boldly that the Chiefs either would finish last or not make the playoffs. I feel like, looking back, maybe anybody that said they finished last.
No, you can't get finished last. The Raiders stink. They're like the worst team in the NFL.
I understand. I almost want to.
You can miss the playoffs.
Because the Raiders are so bad.
No.
That it's
that's part of the deal.
It's bold enough. But Drew Ferris nailed it. He's got the first leg of a one
of those massive parlays.
Yeah, he's got a parlay going. First leg with the Chiefs being out. Drew tagged us.
Okay.
Former long snapper here. Drew tagged us.
Right.
And said, got the first leg here.
What's
Chiefs
the rest of it?
I don't remember. He sent me the clip of just this piece. So he's excited for that. I feel like rewards should be given for those who said
I feel like,
Chiefs out of the playoffs.
Credit where credit's due. If you got Kansas City missing the playoffs, you absolutely win your bet. You can't get them being the worst team in the division because the Raiders are like the worst team in the NFL, and that's part of the the variables when you're betting something like that. This team's going to be but like there might be a much worse team in the division.
There might be. All right, let's go Chicago Bears 31-3. Bears move to 10-4. Browns fall to 3-11. Chicago got up early. Caleb Williams with 2 touchdown passes. Loved both of them, especially the second one, an absolute dime to DJ Moore in the back of the end zone.
That's another one of those passes. That's in the category of that J.J. McCarthy Michigan pass to me, where I'm like, I was really trying to work out if that was amazingly good or amazingly lucky.
I mean, I think you have to have some luck that no one bats it away and that it sneaks through
but
there.
But then there's this
element of the velocity to get it there. And
there are times where it's like, I think when you have a throw that is going into a window that is closing like this, like horizontally, 2 guys are coming towards it, and there's an obvious but shrinking window, right? And you just basically have to can you get the ball into that window before it closes, right? Like the classic, like a sash window. The window's coming down. Can you simply throw the ball through that target before the window closes and it's taken away? I think that's kind of easier to give the credit for the throw and say, he saw what he was dealing with here and hit the target before the target disappeared. There are other throws where it's like it involves sort of lofting it into not just a closing window, but across like an extra axis of 3D physical space, where it's like not only is it closing laterally like that, but it's also closing vertically and possibly also the third dimension. And you're like, I'm not 100% sure you appreciated the physics involved in that play when you put the ball in the air.
We have all these Bears fans who are excited on a victory Monday. They're winning. They're 10-4.
Mm-hmm.
A huge game against the Packers next week, coming off their loss. They're now back in first place in the NFC North. And you have to use the word luck on one of the throws of the week.
I didn't say it was
from
lucky.
Caleb Williams. No,
I simply said.
Just give the man his credit. We don't give flowers here. Just give proper credit to Caleb Williams so that people don't come out of here and say, that crotchety old bald guy he hates our team. Hates our team is what he does.
Look, I'm remaining consistent where there is a certain type of throw where I am simply unsure if it was brilliant or lucky. And this was one of those throws where it is an absolute, like he hits a postage stamp of a window to DJ Moore in the end zone. And great, I'm just not 100% sure he appreciated the full physics of what was happening when he put that ball in the air and got it there. That's all I'm saying. He got it there, so ultimately it doesn't matter. If you're one of these people, it's like, all I care about is the result of the play. Well, then, bingo. He got his man in the back of the end zone, hit the postage stamp. That's all you care about. That's fine. All I'm saying is I like to know the why behind plays. And I'm not 100% certain of the why on this play. That's all I'm saying.
I liked the first touchdown, too, to DJ Moore. Got a little depth, threw it out there, nice touch.
This was a game where it ruined a bunch of fantasy players' lives. This was like Rome Odunze aggravated his foot injury and was ruled out of the game like 3 minutes before kickoff. He'd been out for a while. They'd been doing some of this without effectively their number one wide receiver. You're like, we're getting him back today. And then, nope, no, actually not. So Odunze gets ruled out. So this big DJ Moore game, might not happen if Odunze had been on the field.
The 2 touchdowns for Moore. Luther Burden continues to make big plays, 84 yards on 6 catches, including a 40-yarder, 63 yards from Colston Loveland. And DeAndre Swift, it has to be his best season running the ball. I mean, the athletic running backs don't always work when they don't have a great feel for the position. Have vision, know when to cut, know when to lower your shoulder and finish. I feel like every part of DeAndre Swift's game is so much better this year. His finish, outstanding. The first touchdown, the play was set up to cut back. He stays front side. I think his vision is outstanding. He had a disrespectful run. Remember, this was my thing when Ben Johnson was calling plays for the Lions. It'd be 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6, and I called it disrespectful runs. When you don't even run a draw, you don't even try to trick the defense. You just line up and run the ball on 3rd, like what's usually a must-pass situation. The Lions used to do that all the time. A disrespectful run on 3rd and 5. They run a toss play, jukes a safety, picks it up for a first. I think DeAndre Swift, 18 carries for 98 and 2 touchdowns. What a season he's having for this Bears offense.
I also think he's an interesting case study of whether, I mean, Ben Johnson is known as, a real details kind of coach, and we've been applying that to Caleb Williams and what this would do to the offense overall once he got him really focused on the details and coached up hard. I think it's an interesting case study for whether that can improve. You just think about vision as this kind of amorphous, nebulous concept for running backs. Like, do they see it or do they not? But how much of that is, what if you have a coach really helping a guy on like what to look for, when to read something, like how to see things? It's not necessarily just an instinctive, do you have vision or do you not, yes or no? It's like, do you know what you're looking for in these plays? And what if you have a guy really focus on that and say, this is the shoulder to read on this play. Like, check this guy's, is he showing you color to the outside of this block? If yes, go here. Like, what if Ben Johnson's actually had this, transformative effect on DeAndre Swift, who was always a physically incredibly gifted running back? It's just his problem was what was being labeled as vision. What if that was just he'd never been coached properly before now, and suddenly Ben Johnson has transformed this guy? I'm not saying that is the case, but it would fit,
Yeah. I mean, whatever's changed, you could feel it. And the 1-2 punch of Swift with his speed and quicks and ability to create big plays, plus Kyle Monungai's power, has been a big part of the Bears' success here. And then Caleb Williams, a couple special throws in there. I love the young playmakers, even with the Dunze out, the ability to get the ball to Luther Burden, Colston Loveland. Offense looking really good. Obviously, the defense did a really nice job against Shedeur Sanders and the Browns as well. DeMarco Jackson, young linebacker, former Saints draft pick. He was a model guy back in the day, by the way.
Yeah.
Got to rave about what a big game he had. He had a
really
sack.
Nice pick.
He had that nice interception, tipped it to himself. He was good in the run game.
That was like the very next play was the Caleb Williams touchdown.
Yeah.
DJ Moore one.
That was a huge, obviously, turn for to seal the deal for Chicago, who had this game in hand for the most part. But DeMarco Jackson with a huge game for the Bears at linebacker.
Yeah, he really impressive. Jalen Johnson got himself an interception as well on a pass that should have been a touchdown to Jerry Jeudy, but obviously Jerry Jeudy is not very good and somehow conspired to turn a touchdown into an interception by not catching the ball. That was one where, they lost. They were undermanned. They were just beaten by a better team. I still thought Shedeur Sanders did quite a lot of good things, including that play where he should have had a touchdown at the end of that, I think. Jalen Johnson's in man coverage on Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy wins at the line. There's a window. Shedeur gets it over the corner, who's got his back to him and is therefore not, playing the ball, and literally hits Jeudy in the chest. And Jeudy doesn't catch it and somehow just slowed the ball up enough that Jalen Johnson was able to go, oh, look, football, and get himself an interception in the end zone. It's another example of look, you're undermanned on offense. You've got this fifth-round rookie quarterback trying to do what he can. It's like, the supporting cast has got to help this guy out when there are plays to be made, and Jeudy didn't for the millionth time this season. And even this extends to the coaches as well. There was a play earlier where Shedeur does a really nice play to get out of a third down pressure. It's like unblocked off the left side. Whether or not that guy was on him or not, I'm not sure. But point is, he got away from it in a way that Shedeur doesn't always. Got himself, it was like 3rd and 10 or whatever. He got 9.5 yards on the scramble. Hits just short of the first down. And now it's 4th and 1 from your own 39-yard line. And you're the Browns, right? You're already eliminated from everything. You got nothing to play for. And they punt. It's like, what? Why? Give the guy a chance. He just made most of a play, 95% of a play on a dead situation. Reward him by going for the 4th and short and let him keep the drive alive. Instead, they punt it away. The Bears score a touchdown when they take over. It's just cowardly play calling that resulted in cowardly results. Yeah.
I mean, usually when you get the 9-yard run to make it a 4th and 1, most coaches go for that anyway.
Yeah.
Just
But
because,
instead, it's like, no, let's.
like when
I
you're
don't
feeling good
understand-
coming off the third down play.
I don't understand coaches for teams that are bad and have been eliminated and have nothing to play for. Like, why don't they just go YOLO? I'm going for everything. Like, go full Kevin Kelly, the coach that doesn't punt ever. Like, let's go.
I would definitely do that. Go for it. Shedeur Sanders' stat line, 18 of 35 for 177, no touchdowns, 3 picks, sacked 5 times. As usual, there'll be some people that say, look at the Judy play. That shouldn't have been picked. There was another one in there, though. He threw, misread.
Yeah.
Nishan Wright. Nishan
certainly
Wright
wasn't
dropped
perfect.
an interception.
Right.
I think this was probably Shedeur Sanders' worst game, not because of the stat line. He also fumbled in the pocket. Couple nice throws in there, but the interception to DeMarco Jackson, probably should have seen that. Had another interception, didn't see the underneath defender. Like the 3 picks, it may not be the right plays, but the 3 picks were probably the right result for Shedeur Sanders in this game, plus sacked 5 times, including a fumble in the pocket.
And by the way, that like there are people out there that are like, oh, it's a bad location on the Jerry Jeudy play that I'm talking about. Like, there's a difference between could that ball have been placed in a better spot, i.e., if it was like a yard further directionally, diagonally, that's the word I'm looking for. If it was like a yard further diagonally, vertically and horizontally, it would have been impossible for Jalen Johnson to make that play, and it would have been in a bucket that only Judy could catch it. Like, is that true? Yes. However, there's a difference between was the ball location perfect and was it a good enough throw that should have scored a touchdown? Like, the answer to the first question is, no, it wasn't perfect. Like, if he put it a yard further out, it would have been perfect. But it's like a 25-yard pass or whatever, 30-something yards in the air that cleared the corner and hit his receiver in the chest. Like, at that point, that's a good throw that should be a play that's made. So, again, there's a difference between was it perfect and was it bad. Like, there's a middle ground there, and the pass was in the middle ground.
Where are these people you're finding?
They're everywhere.
Someone needs to chart the Bears'
That
seeding.
happens with every deep throw, right? Like, people have this inability to understand the difference between was the ball location absolutely perfect on this play and was it bad? Those are the two. It's a binary thing for people.
The further the ball goes down the field, the more the result is on the receiver in the
Yes.
corner. That's the thing, right? The less it's the ball location because you have so much time.
But also the more middle ground
to adjust.
exists between perfect ball location
Well,
and bad throw.
I see some dummies out there who were like, well, that ball hit his forearm and not his hand, therefore it's not a drop. When it's like, well, the ball is in there in the air for 40 yards.
Yeah.
It's on the receiver to make it either hit the forearm or hit the hand. Like,
But they're also like,
know.
they're like, it hit there rather than there, therefore it's a bad throw. Like, he just put that ball 45 yards in the air in an area that was within a foot from where you wanted it to be.
a binary good, bad.
Like, go out there
world.
yourself and throw a 40-yard pass and get it within the same area code of what you're aiming at. Like, that was a good throw, not a great throw. If it was perfect ball location where you want it to be, then yes, it would have been a perfect throw, and we would be talking about, wow, that's one of the greatest throws. Instead, it's just good, but it was still fine, right? Like, there's this massive world of gray between perfect ball location and bad throw.
And a great play by Jalen Johnson to finish the
Yes.
play. Or a bad play by Jerry Jeudy, however you want to.
Again, both.
Yes. We need to chart the course of the Bears seeding here. They were the number 1 seed
Yep.
coming out of Thanksgiving week. They fell to the 7 seed.
Uh-huh.
We're back up to the 2.
The two.
We're back up to the 2 here
Nice.
for the Chicago Bears. They're going to do the whole let's play our division rivals twice in 3 weeks. They're coming back next week. Saturday games are back, by the way. I know you love this. The Saturday games are back, Sam. That next Saturday, December 20th, this Saturday, 8:20 p.m., Packers in Chicago. The Packers visiting the first place Chicago Bears next Saturday night. A chance at redemption after the 4th down interception last week by Caleb Williams to seal it for the Packers. So the 10-4 Packers back up to the number 2 seed in the NFC with the division on the line next Saturday night.
There must be a huge chance this year, relative to normal years, where both championship games are division games.
Yeah, you've got Rams, Seahawks, Packers, Bears.
I mean, I would say the two most likely championship games right now, based off just how good are the teams, yes or no, would be the Rams, Seahawks, and then Patriots, Bills has got to be a pretty good chance as well.
Chargers, Broncos.
But I was going to say, even outside of that, you've got Broncos, Chargers, You've got Jags, Texans right now.
Jags, Texans.
You've got Bears, Packers. Like, there are division games everywhere.
Some fun ones. Some fun ones still to go. So, good win by the Bears, 31-3. So we'll be looking forward to that Packers game on Saturday night. Anything else on this one?
No.
All right, Baltimore Ravens 24, Bengals 0. Ravens coming to town. Cold game in Cincinnati. It was freezing yesterday morning here, Sam.
Yeah.
Ravens moved to 7-7 with the shutout win over the 4-10 Bengals.
You thought it was cold in Chicago, where it was a mere 9 degrees at kickoff. It was 8 degrees at kickoff in Paycor.
It was 2 below, according to Alexa, when I went out to shovel yesterday morning.
It was cold.
To salt the driveway and everything. We got a lot of snow on Saturday here in Cincinnati. And then it was freezing yesterday morning.
There's levels of cold, and like most of the time, like there's like a 20 or 30 degree window where it's like it doesn't really matter where in this window is. It's just cold, but it's fine, right? Like it's your jacket takes care of it and you're good. Then it reaches a temperature where what you know to be a warm jacket, it suddenly starts passing through that warm jacket. Like it finds the permeability level of whatever you're wearing, and it just starts cutting through it. And you're like, oh, it's cold now. I was out there shoveling, and what I know to be a warm jacket down to 15 degrees or whatever is suddenly it's like, holy crap, it's cutting right through this. Like it's not even there. So, yeah, it was cold. And I didn't check this out properly, but Paul Dehner, who was tweeting before the game, it's like, thanks for, digging yourself out of the snow and hauling your ass to the stadium for this home game. Your seat is now covered in snow and ice. Which I think the teams are obligated
Florio says that's a league violation. They are supposed to have the seats shoveled out.
You see this basically every year where Buffalo generally has had a snowstorm because they're near the lake and they get a lot of snow. And, they dole out money to the locals. They're like, hey, guys, come down to the stadium. We'll pay you $20 an hour or whatever and start shoveling.
They rally the troops and they get it done.
And start shoveling the seats. And so, the Bills Mafia rock up, get paid, and they shovel the seats, and everyone gets their, there's space when they get there for the stadium. The Bengals are just like, man, it snowed yesterday, and it's cold, so unlucky.
Yeah.
Enjoy. If you rocked up to your seat yesterday in the Bengals stadium, it was just covered in snow and ice, and it's 8 degrees out.
And then you watch your team put up
play
a 0.
like crap, yeah.
So, yeah, it was close early. I mean, it was back and forth. Ravens made a couple big plays. I thought, Lamar's touchdown pass to Zay Flowers back of the end zone was outstanding. Derrick Henry started heating up in the second half. And then Joe Burrow with a very bad throw under pressure. He's under quick pressure, throws the ball right to Kyle Van Noy, who just so casually, I wrote down lateral, but just handed it.
It's like, hey, I've got this ball. I don't really want it.
Could you take this, Alohi, to the house?
Whilst he was running. He was jogging down the sideline. Saw very early that I don't really want any part of this.
This guy's faster.
Right. He was like looking back. He's like, hey, I got this football here. You want it? You could probably run faster than me down the sideline, and I could maybe pretend to block for you. So over the course of 15 yards or whatever, he's just beckoning Gilman to take the football off him, and then he does and goes down and scores.
A selfless play.
Smart play.
Technically, it was I like the NFL scorebook actually calls it a handoff.
Yeah.
It says Van Noy for 11.
Yep.
Handoff to Alohi Gilman for another 84 for the pick six for the touchdown.
That's exactly what it was.
That capped a 16. So the Bengals go 16 plays, 80 yards. Not that they were gonna make a move at this point, but that really solidified a rough day for Cincinnati.
Yeah, terrible performance from them. I mean, early it was terrible from both sides. They were trading ridiculous, deflected, batted pass interceptions to each other. Burrow had one, and then Baltimore gave one back.
Almost back-to-back plays or within the same couple plays.
Zay Flowers and just about kept it off the ground for a battle. Really, I mean, it's such a miserable season from the Bengals. They were basically interesting for about 2 weeks this season. There was the week where Joe Flacco unexpectedly beat the Steelers, randomly on Thursday night, where it's like Flacco's a terrible quarterback and the Bengals season is done. That's he just shocks Pittsburgh. Oh, this kept them alive for another month. And then there's the first game where Burrow came back, and suddenly the offense lit it up. And you're like, wow, this team could actually be fun down the stretch. And then after each one of those games, they crapped themselves the following week and undid all of the good work. And actually, you take those 2 games away, It's like this team has just been an embarrassment start to finish. They've got one of the worst defenses in the league, which, okay, it's shown some signs of life in the last few weeks, but it's still not good. And then even the offense has been, like, it's had stretches where it's been okay, but it's never been, like, good enough to offset how bad everything else is. And overall, they've just been a terrible football team.
The defense, you're right, has been better in recent weeks, but even like the first touchdown to Rashid Ali, by the way, fast receiver out of Marshall for Baltimore. It was similar to the play that Baltimore gave up last week, where they were supposed to either have a linebacker run out to cover or an edge rusher. No one covers Ali. One of the Bengals were disguising the blitz, and one of the linebackers was dropping out, and he tripped. Like, it was just ugly. And Ali's just wide open for a 30-yard touchdown. It wasn't even a screen. It was one of those, it looked like a screen where you're inviting pressure and just dumping it off. It was like, no, it was just a dump off, and nobody was covering Ali. So even though the defense has played better, they still have some ugly plays in there. Then Henry started to get hot in the second half. He finished with 100 yards on 11 carries. They had 189 on the ground, including the kneel down. So they were close to 200, Baltimore, on the ground. Lamar only needed to throw the ball 12 times. And, Cincinnati couldn't get out of their own way offensively. There was a ball off Chase's hands, a little high. It was high. It was probably an overthrow, but that was what got tipped up for an interception. Other throws that could have been hauled in down the field. So, ugly season for Cincinnati. And I want to talk about what it means for Baltimore in a second, but Cincinnati sitting here at 4-10. Burrow had that interview this week that went viral, and people trying to think about, is he trying to get out of town? Is it just off-field questions? Is he just sad? Is he sick of getting hurt? Whatever it is that Joe Burrow is dealing with here. And because it's the Cincinnati Bengals, people immediately think, well, of course, this is the Bengals. This is the Carson Palmer situation. They just run everybody out of town. I'm not ready to jump to that conclusion. And
he walked back a lot of that after this game.
Yeah, and again, that's why I'm not ready to jump to that conclusion. But I'm curious to know what Cincinnati does. I think Zach Taylor, the thing I gave him credit for the most through the years was bouncing back from adversity. And their good seasons, they bounced back from adversity. And even last year, like, they almost got back into the playoffs, right, with everything against them. But they haven't fixed the defense in 2 years, and there's something missing. And you have to wonder, is that time for a change with Taylor? For an organization much like Pittsburgh, like, they don't like to make coaching changes. But like, how much does Joe Burrow like Zach Taylor, want Zach Taylor around?
Burrow basically
what are the changes this offseason?
This is the thing. So Burrow walked back that kind of, everything's bad, I'm dealing with stuff comment. Basically said it's not, football related, and endorsed Zach Taylor. I think endorsed other people in the building as well. It's like, okay, that's fine, but something pretty significant clearly has to change. Like, back-to-back years where your defense has been an absolute disgrace. The offense, you just paid a ton of money for this whole group to stay together. It's another year where Joe Burrow has gotten hurt for an extended period of time. Even when he was back there, it hasn't necessarily been, unstoppable. And a game like this can happen. The offensive line's not in great shape. Like, there's a lot of things that are problematic for this team. Okay, you think Zach Taylor isn't the problem. Like, where is the problem? Something major has to change. Last year, Lou Anarumo was the scapegoat, right? Like, they ran him out of the building, even though he's like a year or two removed from operating, one of the best defense in the league. And people were like, he's got Mahomes, he's the guy, he's in his head. And then he was the problem, because last year's defense was garbage. Well, this year's defense was even worse. So what does change? Because something fairly fundamental has to change. Because right now, this team is wasting Joe Burrow's career.
So that's something to keep an eye on at this point, heading into the offseason. For Baltimore, they moved to 7-7. I mean, their season's still going to come down to playing Pittsburgh. Is that Week 18 where they play Pittsburgh? I'm asking without looking here. Baltimore coming up here. Yep, they're faced New England on Sunday Night Football. They have a tough stretch here.
Yeah.
New England on Sunday Night Football, at Green Bay the following week, and then I believe is that a Saturday game? And then at Pittsburgh to finish the season. So home against New England, Sunday Night Football, at Green Bay on a Saturday night, and then at Pittsburgh, Week 18. So they're 7-7. They still don't look right. They're still not dominant, but they're in the mix. See what happens tonight with Pittsburgh and Miami. If they can be tied, they're tied for the top of the division.
Yeah, they have a 47% chance, according to NFL.com, of making the playoffs. I don't know how much of that is contingent on this game tonight, like Pittsburgh against Miami.
Yeah, I mean, I think
but a chunk of it.
they need the Steelers to lose another one, and then if they can, win that final game and win out. But they're going to be it's a tough stretch for with Patriots, Packers, and then finishing against the Steelers. Anything else on that one?
Nope.
All right, we got 3 minutes on this game tops. Philadelphia Eagles 31, Raiders nothing.
Is this the game?
Eagles move to 9-5, Raiders 2-12.
Every week there's a game, where your notes, there's just not much there. This is the game.
You know what my notes were?
Sure.
I'm watching this game. I see people are like, the Raiders need to get relegated, this and that. I'm like, when was the last time? I asked myself a question, did a little research.
Yeah.
When was the last time the Raiders held a lead in the second half of a football game?
Okay.
The answer is November 2nd.
Yikes.
And that was, remember they took the Jags to overtime.
Yeah.
We'll say took the Jags because they lost. But they went to overtime against Jacksonville. And before that, like they beat Tennessee. They may only have 3 games in which they even had a second half lead. They're 2 wins. Yeah. Patriots week 1, Titans, the Titans game, and then the Jags game. They may not even have had a lead in the second half other than that. I didn't look further, but they're bad.
Oh, yeah.
They're so bad they made the Eagles offense look good.
Yes. 387 yards. The Raiders had 75 yards of offense.
Yeah. There was no Kenny Pickett revenge game.
No, apparently not. My notes for this game. The Raiders suffer a batted pass on 4th down. That's not helping.
Nope.
Goddard drops a touchdown.
Got that too.
Got a sack the next play. It's a 4-point
Hurts.
drop.
Goddard drops wide open touchdown. Hurts sacked the next play.
Yeah.
So instead of 14-0, it was 10-0.
And that's a 4-point mistake for Dallas.
I didn't write could come back to bite because I knew it wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
should have been 35 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Genty has got to stop dropping checkdowns. Like it wasn't a perfect throw location, but come on, dude.
Low check down.
Like he's been dropping those all season long. Like stop it.
Yeah.
You're one of 2 talented players on this team. You need to start 3, I guess, if you include defense. You got to stop dropping those passes. And that's basically it.
I really want to like Ashton Genty, and the situation's awful.
Yeah.
But I would rather him catch the ball a little bit better. He's not catching the ball well.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's had some opportunities to show some special.
There are plays.
There's some special in there, but not. I'd rather see a little bit more.
There's so many plays where he has no shot. Like you cannot do anything about the plays where you're basically getting met at the handoff by defenders left, right, and center. But like those are the plays where you can do something about it. That's just you. Okay, yeah. Again, it's not a perfect throw location, but it's also Geno Smith and/or Kenny Pickett throwing you the football. So it's not going to be right. Catch the ball and make something special happen after it. Now that you've got a little bit of space to work with, and you're not getting killed in the backfield. Like these are the plays where you actually have a chance to show that you can be a really good player. And he's not making those ones. So, yeah, it was miserable from the Raiders start to finish. It made the Eagles' offense look good, and we have no earthly idea whether that was anything that got fixed with the Eagles or if they just played the Raiders.
I mean, we said on the preview show the Raiders are the team, if you're going to run your ISO routes on the outside, not only like they don't rush the passer well and they don't cover well, so you have a chance to hit those. And they hit a couple of them. They had the A.J. Brown touchdown up the seam was a nice throw from Jalen Hurts. He also had 2, in addition to the Goddard dropped pass in the flat, 2 tap pass touchdowns to Goddard. That's now like 4 underhand touchdowns, I think, all to Goddard that Hurts has this year when you're seeing his touchdown totals. Mm-hmm. He's got some tap passes in there. So Hurts goes 12 of 15 for 175, 3 touchdowns. And then Tanner McKee also comes in 3 for 3, 33 yards.
That's good.
Yeah. Just saying he's completing 100% of his passes in this game.
Brandon Graham, I think, got the first 2 sacks of his return from unretirement.
Oh, nice. Oh, we forgot to mention Myles Garrett's sack total. That was a big.
Yeah, he got 1.5.
Yeah,
1.5.
We got to lament the fact we missed the ability to lament the half sack. But Garrett's close to the sack.
He's 2 away now.
Stitch that into the Browns analysis.
He needs 2 sacks away from the record.
We'll spend our Eagles-Raiders time talking about Myles Garrett and the sack record.
Yeah.
Which he got closer to yesterday.
Yeah, incrementally. So he got 1.5 yesterday, which puts him 2 away from the record. With how many games left? 3?
3 left, 2 in my mind.
Yeah.
16. You got to do it in 16, Miles. Just get 3 next week. Over the next 2 weeks, and you got it. Or 2. Eagles are going to play on Saturday as well. They're the first game, 5 p.m. at Washington. So the Eagles, take care of business here. Their first win since mid-November. And they're going to play the Commanders 2 out of the next 3 weeks with the Bills sandwiched in the middle there in Week 17 at Buffalo. So Philadelphia still has a chance, obviously, to finish strong here, rectify that 3-game losing streak where we all questioned everything about this Eagles offense. But you know how I use the phrase the Texans defense has you questioning everything about your offense the next morning. Man, we really screwed up everything offensively. We can't pass protect. We can't throw it. We can't catch it. We can't do anything against Houston. Well, the Raiders have the opposite effect. It's like we're back. Yeah. Everybody's back. Everybody's get right spot is going up against this Raiders team.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
both sides of the ball.
That'll cure a lot of what ails you, and it did for the Eagles. So, like I said, they look great in this game, but we just have no idea if that was anything that got fixed or if they just played the Raiders.
Learn nothing about the Eagles. The Raiders, we're doing this look ahead thing. All right. The Raiders are looking ahead to Week 17 when they play the 2-win New York Giants. I love these games. When you have a battle with the number 1 pick on the line, it's just as good. It's just as good as a battle for a playoff spot. It really is. Giants, Raiders, Week 17. Because as of right now, with Tankathon, the Giants have the number 1 pick. They're 2-12. Raiders are 2-12. Tennessee's 2-12. Well, something's got to give in Week 17. Giants against the Raiders.
Yeah, very true. I think, look, this has been an absolute disaster of a season for the Raiders, who I think a lot of people expected to be pretty competitive, maybe not, in the playoffs or anything, but at least respectable, and they've been an absolute disaster all season long. In fact, the only good news for them is it's been so bad that actually you may end up being the number 1 overall pick and having, like, the best thing that could happen is, like, the Geno Smith thing was such a mistake, apparently. I don't know that you could have realistically been expected to anticipate that. But if it's going to go bad, at least go so bad that you end up with the number 1 overall pick and can immediately draft the next quarterback to try and fix it.
It might be a 1 QB draft now. It might be just Fernando Mendoza coveted at the top of the draft, the way Alabama's Ty Simpson has dropped off a little bit. Dante Moore would be the other guy who could be in the mix. We'll see what happens in the playoff run here for Oregon, but he might be going back to school. Lenora Sellers is going back to school because you know what they do now, Sam? They announce re-signings in college football now.
Re-signings.
The report this weekend is that Lenora Sellers, who, by the way, would not be a slam dunk first rounder anyway, but maybe. The Lenora Sellers is close to re-signing with South Carolina to go back for next year. So it could be a one-horse race as far as top 10 quarterbacks go. Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman winner, and Raiders, could be the team sitting atop, depending on what happens with that Giants game in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was more than I anticipated there. All right, let's go Jacksonville Jaguars. 48-20 over the New York Jets. Jags move to 10-4. Jets fall to 3-11. Trevor Lawrence does it again. 6 touchdowns. 1 on the ground, 5 through the air, 20 of 32 for 330. Passer rating of 136.7. 3 touchdowns to Travis Etienne, 1 to Bashal Tutin, so 4 to running backs here. Stats aside, we said last week was Trevor Lawrence's best game, certainly of the season, maybe even of his career, but he's feeling it again, looking hot in this game and playing really good ball now.
Yeah, very real chance that last week was the best game of his entire career, and this was arguably as good, if not better. So he's now starting to stack these games up. And look, we know better than to say he's definitely turned a corner and he's arrived and he's finally the guy he was supposed to be. However, it doesn't really matter in that it shows you if you get the high-end version of Trevor Lawrence, like what we're seeing right now is the ceiling of this team, which is incredibly high, apparently. If Trevor Lawrence gets in a groove, this offense is able to absolutely cook because everything else was already in really good shape. The defense was already massively improved this season, creating turnovers left, right, and center. The run game had been improved basically from the moment Liam Cohen got there, and the only thing that had been lagging behind was Trevor Lawrence and the passing offense a little bit generally. Well, Whether or not it's been the arrival of Jacoby Myers, whether or not it's just Trevor Lawrence, the switch is flipped, or whether or not he's just on a run of good games, doesn't really matter. The last few weeks, the point is that passing attack has risen to the level of everything else. And as long as that's the case, I mean, the Jags become an immediate contender off the back of that.
Remember a few weeks ago, I said I was giving Liam Cohen a ton of credit because I thought they really schemed it up. What game was that? The Chargers, maybe? Because they destroyed the Chargers, but I was giving the scheme credit for a ton of plays, right? He was scheming open some tight red zone plays. So now, and I think that's there, right? He schemes open Bashal Tutin up the seam. They've had some really good scheme plays in there. But it's also, for the second straight week, Trevor Lawrence is like, oh, you're going to overload blitz me? I'm just going to scramble out, roll out to the left, and just throw an absolute dot down the field. Second straight week that he did that. Our friend Nate Tice, who's been a huge Trevor Lawrence fan through the years. And I think Nate Tice's, I think as an evaluator, Tice's superpower is seeing the good in bad situations. So the same way you just said, hey, Justin Herbert should be an MVP candidate because the O-line's bad and you're watching him every week and you're seeing it. I feel like Tice does that really well. He mentioned Mendoza last year, actually, at Cal in a tough situation, being like, I love this guy. I like this guy a lot. So Nate Tice does a really good job of that. So he's never stopped believing in Trevor Lawrence. And so he's been highlighting those couple plays like I have, right? He's beating the blitz by just rolling out and just confidently throwing a dime down the field. He did that again in this game. The high end of Trevor Lawrence is there. And then you combine that with the play calling, the run game, the fact that Jacoby Myers is there, Parker Washington is back, Brenton Strange. So now they've got the playmakers. The playmakers are catching the ball. Really nice touchdown to Brian Thomas Jr. They seem like they're connecting, and they're using Brian Thomas Jr. in a way where it's maybe less pressure on him, where like I think they were trying to force him into this theoretical number one role early in the year. You don't have to do that as much. So Lawrence is spreading the ball around. You have a good group of playmakers. You have Liam Cohen doing a really nice job scheming it up, and Lawrence is just feeling it right now. So that offense looks great, and the defense has been good all year. They were turnover dependent early, but they've been good all the way through. And, again, it's like they beat the Jets.
Yes.
But it's the how they've done it offensively these last few weeks that I'm most impressed with the Jags.
Yeah, I mean, I will say if you're looking at just last week and this week and you're like, which one of these two games is actually Trevor Lawrence's signature career best game ever, just because of the opposition, I think you would say the Colts game was better. Like the rushing touchdown that he had in this game, like the Jets stink, you know what I mean? And it was a ridiculous touchdown to give up. Like Lawrence had all day in the pocket, and then he's under pressure from three different Jets, and then just like sidesteps to his left. All three of them take themselves out of the play. Like really ridiculously bad play from Will McDonald. And he just like sidesteps him and then runs in for a touchdown. You're like, that's catastrophic defense. I mean, that is awful. So look, Trevor Lawrence played fantastically yesterday, but you probably also need to factor in the Jets defense was pretty terrible.
Yeah, it was rough. So Brady Cook started out making some plays. Started out hot, finishes with 3 picks, but,
this is the Brady Cook experience. This is what I was kind of saying. Look, he's kind of fun. Brady, there's some stuff to like about Brady Cook, but it's almost certainly going to involve some pretty bad mistakes along the way as well.
Did I say Brady Quinn?
No, I think you said Brady Cook.
Okay, cool.
There's some – Brady Cook to A.D. Mitchell, just like you want to see in December. A.D. Mitchell, by the way, fair play to him. He caught the ball, was celebrating, and then realized that's Brady Cook's first and maybe only ever touchdown. went to get him the ball and, ran it to him. Was like, hey, keep this.
Who says he's not QB?
You never know when you're going to get another one of these, if ever. So, celebrate this thing. So, good for A.D. Mitchell. He's at the heart of a lot of bad things that happen for an offense, but he also is a vibes guy, team guy, helping out his quarterback there. Got him his football, made sure he didn't lose it.
Jets fall to 3-11. Of course, they're still in the mix for the number 1 overall pick as well. As of right now, they'd be 5th. Then they're tied with 2 other teams at 3-11, Cleveland and Arizona, with the 2-12 teams ahead of them. But they see the Giants and Raiders playing in a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. So you got some dominoes to fall. Jags have an interesting finish here. At Denver next week.
Yep.
in the Brunel Bowl.
I mean, that'll give you a much
Brunel
better
in Denver. Oh, I'm going to have so much propaganda this week. Jags going to Denver.
That'll give you a much better idea of just how Trevor Lawrence is playing.
Absolutely. So playing that Denver defense, the rematch against the Colts in a couple weeks, and then the Titans to wrap up the season. But the Jags have, we'll see what happens with the Denver game, but a golden opportunity at least those last couple weeks to lock up the AFC South, of which and there's still like a 10, 12% chance that they can have the number one seed. Like that's all on the board here with, going to Denver, obviously the number one seed this week. Potential playoff preview. It's gonna be a fun playoffs, man, just because we got a whole bunch of new teams and fresh blood in there.
And just to make a statement, I mean, this was a team that, sort of backdoored their way into the playoff picture, and all of a sudden it's like, actually, if Trevor Lawrence is cooking and playing this way, like this team is legit.
Absolutely.
I mean, if they go out there and do something against Denver and the Colts again, I mean, that's a real sort of statement of intent heading into the playoffs. Like, we're not just here because the division fell apart. We're here because actually we're able to beat everybody right now.
Just like the statement that Mark made back in '96 in
just
the
like
divisional
that.
round.
Yeah.
It's going to be a huge week. All right, you know how fast NFL game days move. One big play and everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel is a game changer. With FanDuel, you can bet in real time while the game unfolds. Score just flipped, jump on a new spread, or live money line. The wide receiver's heating up, bet the new next touchdown scorer or total yards. Think that drive stalls in the red zone? We could take a live field goal prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all there. It's fast, it's fun, and with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel puts you right in the middle of every moment. Visit FanDuel.com/3030 to download the app and bet the NFL live all season long. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 sport in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Paid endorsement. All right, what's next here? Speaking of the AFC South, Houston Texans 40, Arizona Cardinals 20. Houston moving to 9-5 here, just a game back of the Jags. Cardinals fall to 3-11. Houston got up very early in this game and never looked back. It was 17-0 before he even blinked in the first quarter.
I mean, right away, it's like you get a solid Jalen Noel return, and then Nico Collins, the 57-yard catch, broken tackle, touchdown. Garrett Williams got wrecked on the release. Then Budda Baker couldn't fix it. The two of them kind of tackle each other instead of Nico Collins. Cardinals then fumble the kick return. It's like instant red zone for Houston, and that's how these games start to spiral completely out of control. And it's another case of like, did the Texans offense really get itself together, or did they just play the Cardinals, who are pretty bad on defense?
Yeah, the Cardinals are disappointing given the last 2 years. Remember, in 2023...
Their defense especially. I mean, the offense, you'd be like, okay, the Kyler Murray thing hasn't worked out. You've gone with Jacoby. He's, fun, but not necessarily good. And so you're like, all right, that's got a level. But the defense, like that, they added a lot of talent to what was already a feisty, well-coached defense. And it started off looking pretty good, and then it's kind of fallen apart.
It really has. I mean, the last 2 years, remember in 2022, Kyler Murray got hurt. They knew he got hurt at the end of the season, actually similar to Mahomes. They knew he was going to miss most of 2023, which he did. And they just said, it's a rebuilding year. So we're going to have probably the least talented team in the NFL, which they did. But they kept playing way above their level. And it's like, all right, that's a feather in the cap for Jonathan Gannon. Last year, similar. They're better. They're not there yet. They had the worst defensive line room I've seen in a while, and they were still punching above their weight. It's like, all right, give Jonathan Gannon some talent on the defensive side, and they get Josh Sweat, bring back Calais Campbell. They've got all this talent on the defensive side, and it's just falling apart here in the second half. They went from the team that was losing all these close games, just misses against the Packers and the Colts and everybody that they played. The Seahawks. Seahawks, was it? And then just falling apart. They look awful these last few weeks.
They did.
Credit Houston. I thought Stroud played a really clean game. That was a nice pass to Nico Collins. Found Nico later. Scramble drill touchdown to Dalton Schultz. I thought Stroud did play a nice game. I also want to shout out NFL debut for Jawar Jordan, who added some juice to the backfield. Woody Marks has been running the ball really well, But Jordan had a 50-yarder. I think it was his first NFL carry. 50-yarder on a toss play, or one of his first carries. 15 carries for 101. That could be a sneaky nice addition here down the stretch. Jordan coming out of Louisville just showed some big playability in the run game yesterday, different dynamic that Houston had not had this season.
Yeah.
And they played the Cardinals defense. I get it. They looked – we said they quit. It felt like they quit last week.
Yeah.
When they got beat up, they were not good in this one.
It was rough for them. The Cardinals defense, I think, was really bad. So, again, and not even that, but they also got set up with some favorable field positions. So, I think that side of the ball, it's like, wow, Houston's offense caught fire, and if that happens, like, this team's scary, blah, blah. I think that part is kind of like the Eagles. It's like, did they actually get anything fixed, or did they just play the Cardinals? The other side of the ball, though, like, this is kind of impressive from Arizona's point of view, where they were in a deep hole and going up against the Texans defense. Like, the success they had against Houston's defense is about as much as anybody has had against the Texans defense in a while. Multiple guys still had pretty solid games. It's now the most consecutive games all time for Trey McBride with 5 or more catches for a tight end. Passes Travis Kelce for 16 straight with 5 or more catches.
He's been great.
He's legit.
McBride had 12 for 134 and 2 touchdowns.
He's become one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Michael Wilson still had some success, even against Derek Stingley. Like, one of the best corners in the NFL is now being assigned to you, really as the number one guy. And okay, Derek Stingley made some plays, but so did Michael Wilson. So, yeah, Arizona did some things nice on offense. It was just never going to be anywhere near enough as long as their defense was as bad as it was.
2 plays I wanted to mention this one. The Woody Marks touchdown. C.J. Stroud, it was like he's under center. The ball, it looks like they snapped it under Stroud's legs from the broadcast angle right to Woody Marks, but it went through Stroud's hands, bounced right to Woody Marks, who picked it up. So it's technically a Stroud fumble and a 7-yard fumble recovery for Marks. I know that affected some fantasy stat lines.
Yeah.
I literally thought at first it was a trick play where they were like, we're just going to like one hop it straight under Stroud's legs right to Woody Marks, and Stroud's going to act like he fumbled it. And nope, he actually fumbled it. The other one, Kamari Lassiter with a really sweet interception in the end zone. Just ran the route, stayed on top of it, passes a little bit in front, makes a nice catch. It was an important one, too. It was 23-7 at the time. You mentioned, like, Arizona's offense created some plays, right?
Yeah.
Created some chunk plays. They fought hard. And Lassiter with the interception in the end zone made me think, as we get into draft season, got some draft theories here, because Lassiter picks it off, then does a backflip. Okay? So here's the theory, Sam. This is important when we get to draft time. Lassiter, we debated about his 40 time. Did he run a 4.55, a 4.6? Really productive player. He's a second-round player. Do you want to take a slow corner in the second? Well, he could do a backflip. Okay? Cam Skattebo, the injured Cam Skattebo. We debated his 40 time. Seen him do a backflip.
Yeah.
Tez Johnson, debated his 40 time and his combine, but I've seen him do a handspring backflip. So I say we forget 40 times. If you're athletic enough to do a backflip and you're a productive player, you're going to be a good NFL player. That's what we need around draft time. Lassiter, Skattebo, and Tez Johnson, right off the top of my head, are players I liked coming out, really productive players. We debated their 40 times in athleticism, but they're capable of doing backflips. Therefore, they're going to be good NFL players.
I think you might be overestimating the difficulty or the athleticism required to do a backflip.
I don't think I am.
I think quite a lot of NFL players have the athleticism to do a backflip, and I'm not 100% certain it's the phenomenal benchmark of elite athleticism you're claiming it is.
I can only go off the evidence that I see here.
Yeah,
is that these players who have had their athleticism questioned,
right,
are capable of doing that in celebration. By the way, they're in the end zone, so they can celebrate. So, just going to keep an eye on it. Draft time here.
I'm just like,
you think it's easy to do a backflip as an NFL player?
Easy is a difficult word. I'm not sure I'd say it's easy, but I think there's quite a lot of NFL players could do. Like, there's 3,500 people that play in the NFL every year or whatever, give or take. I would say we're into 4 digits that can do backflips.
I'm overrating the backflip.
Yeah.
You wouldn't add that as a combine drill.
No. Well, I wouldn't be against it just because you get to find what I'd like to see the baseline, right? Like we know now what a good 40 time is.
Here's what I think's
I
overrated.
don't know how many players can do a backflip.
Jumping out of the pool, overrated. We've seen that through the years. This guy could stand from the pool and just jump up onto the deck.
Now that's hard.
But it's overrated.
Right.
I don't know if I don't know if that correlates to the football field. I think the backflip correlates to the football field. I will not try a backflip this offseason.
You can't do a backflip. Now, look, there's a lot of players I think definitely you can do a backflip.
Never in my life have I been able to do a backflip.
I am perfectly happy to declare that now with the risk of it coming back to bite me. You cannot do a backflip.
You don't think I could, hit a moonsault or something?
No.
Like Vader?
No.
Vader did it. Nassim Vader did it like 450 pounds.
Yeah.
Moonsault.
You can't do. I've seen your vertical. You cannot do a backflip. You simply can't. You can't leave the ground.
I have some news.
Far enough in order to get 360.
Harry had a game this weekend, auxiliary gym. There was a side gym.
Yeah.
I went and shot around at halftime. I dunked.
You dunked?
I could dunk.
Really?
Yeah, I was back. I mustered up the energy.
Nice.
I got up and I dunked. So the first time.
Now that's only getting 9 inches off the ground. But still.
But I got spiked by the rim the first time. I said, "That's it. I'm getting up. I'm going to get over. I got to prove to Teddy, 9-year-old Teddy, that I could still do it."
You still got hops.
And I did it.
I will say it's
still
kind
can
of
dunk.
It's both impressive and like the fact that you at one point were borderline of not being able to dunk is kind of remarkable given how close you are to the rim just by standing there with your arm up. But it's good. I'm kind of impressed you can still do it.
Thank you.
Because I've seen when it was borderline.
Formerly, I used to have a 30 to 32 inch vertical.
Yeah.
So I used to be able to have some. I was pretty athletic once, for my size.
I wouldn't go that far.
But for my size.
Yeah.
What's next here? Anything else? So Houston, number 7 seed, right now, staying hot in the AFC.
You definitely can't do a backflip. If there was padding involved, like if we found all those the trampoline parks with the giant mats and stuff, I think I could do one. I wouldn't land. I wouldn't stick the landing, but I think I could get 360.
You could do that.
I think I could get. I think I could make it to the point where my feet were the first thing that hit the ground in a backflip situation.
That I could probably do too. Off a trampoline.
No, I don't mean off a trampoline. I mean if
you just had the pad.
If you had, those, you see those things where people are like, they're doing like BMX stunts, and when they're practicing, somebody like wheels in a giant mat so they don't like face plant from 18 feet off the floor. If somebody had a mat ready, right, so that once I took off and did the spin, somebody like threw a mat under me to make sure that I didn't land face first on the floor, I think I could get to the point where my feet were the first thing that landed. But I don't. There's no way I would stick the landing. Like I don't have that level of in-flight coordination.
Could be the next charity drive.
Yeah.
Before we get to Commanders Giants, though, we did hit our target in the latest charity drive. Over $2,000
nice.
has been hit. I said I'd go to
Elf.
raising money for Heritage House Men's Recovery Program here in Cincinnati. The link's still in the description, but we got over 2,000. That was the goal for me to go to the mall as Elf. We did set a secondary goal as Elf Spaghetti at 2,500. So it's still live. It's still available if you want to get to that. But shout out to Mark. Helped us get over the top here.
Nice.
Our boss helped us get over the top this weekend. But
we could probably do the Elf Spaghetti. Do they have there's some crappy Italian food court at the mall? You just get some spaghetti, and then you can bring the gummies and syrup and stuff. We just do it right in the mall.
If we get to 2,500 by, say, Friday, when we might have to make this trip, maybe we'll do that. I'll sit at Sparrow.
I have bought a gimbal so I can record the whole thing in perfect panning. It's not going to be jerky.
You're going to be my social media
director. I'm
going
to be the filmer.
I think my family wants to come and hang out and see what it's going to be. So we'll do that sometime. But I appreciate everybody that contributed, and even you, Mark. All right, let's go. Washington Commanders 29, New York Giants 21. Commanders move to 4-10. Giants fall to 2-12. Again, sitting atop the number 1 overall pick standings here. Marcus Mariota got the start. Giants were trying to make a comeback, but Mariota hits Terry McLaurin for a 51-yard touchdown that all but sealed it for Washington.
Yeah. It got made close multiple times over. Jerry McNichols fumbled the ball. They had another lateral return. This one they weren't satisfied at one. I think they were trying to do it a bunch of ones. I thought live there was no way that was a legit fumble, and then they replayed it like, oh, look, it did come out before his knee hit the ground. They made it a game. Just another trip to the blue medical tent for Jackson Dart. Now, there were a couple of plays where he slid, but there were some other ones where he really didn't. You're not getting that out of him. Like, he's man does not have good self-preservation instincts.
The turning point in this game is right before the half. It's 13-7. The Giants force a 3-and-out with $1:20 left. The Commanders force a 3-and-out on the Giants. Giants punt. Jalen Lane with a 63-yard punt return, a second punt return
right
touchdown.
Up the gut.
Yeah. So the Giants were, so they give up the 63-yard touchdown. That makes it 19-7. Then Jackson Dart throws a pick. Mike Sanders still. So they're just trying to get into field goal range for a last-second field goal here before the half. Sanders still picks it off. He returns it to field goal range, and the Commanders get a field goal just before the half. So I want to say 10-point swing, but it was like a 10. Ended up being 9 points with a missed extra point, but 9 points for Washington just before the half. Tyrone Tracy had a really nice touchdown catch over Bobby Wagner to make it 22-14, and then it was Mariota to Terry McLaurin wide open for the 51-yarder.
The bones of this Giants team are going to be really fun next year because Jackson Dart, suicidal though he may be, looks very good.
He looks good. Yes.
You've got Tyrone Tracy, who's still talented. You've got Scadaboo coming back from his ankle injury. You don't have at the moment their number one wide receiver. Like, the other guys are still making some nice plays for them. Like, Wan'Dale Robinson has been really good in this weird role where for some reason they're using him as a deep threat. There's a lot of talented playmakers for this team. Theo Johnson had a big game.
Abdul Carter had a really nice game too, by the way. He had a strip sack, 3 tackles for loss in the run game coming off that benching last week and everything. Like, Abdul Carter stepped up in the loss, but he looked maybe his best game as a pro.
Like, there's a lot of very talented players on this team, and a lot of them have been injured. But if they can just get Dart to modify his play style just a little bit, just to go like a month between trips to the blue tent, like, this team could be very fun next year.
Yeah, I agree. They just look bad right now. Giants are 2-12. They've got the big game against the Raiders in a couple weeks. Commanders have the Eagles 2 out of the last 3 weeks here. We still don't know. Like, Jaden Daniels is still so he missed the game with the elbow injury. It's not season ending.
Dude, why
this time?
Don't put him back out.
So he could come back out. They've got Eagles, Cowboys, Eagles if they want to.
If he hadn't already aggravated it the last time they put him out there, I would say okay, fine. But you put him out there last time, and then all he did was fall over, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of stress to put through a recently dislocated elbow. Well, then why is he out there? He's playing football. He's going to be stressed. There's going to be a lot of stress put through the recently dislocated elbow. If that's a thing, that's a risk for re-injury. Well, then he shouldn't be out there.
I would probably sit Daniels. I wouldn't want him getting hurt at the end of the season, carrying into next year.
Like, I assumed that was an injury where when they cleared him to play, he was like 100%, right? Like, good to go. There's no elevated risk of injury. But all he did was get blocked to the floor, and they're like, he's done again. Well, then why was he playing? Because the chances of Jaden Daniels, of all quarterbacks, making it through a game without ever being thrown to the floor were pretty minimal.
Yeah, not great. Commanders' first win since October 5th when they beat the Chargers. And their first win since, remember, we said a few weeks back, whoever loses that Bears-Commanders game, their season's over. That was what set this in motion. Losing to the Bears, that Monday night game on October 13th back in Week 6. And they finally win a game.
And they kind of deserve this because they've had some tough battle. Like, they've been fighting hard in a bunch of games where they were getting their ass kicked, Like, they played Denver really close. And then, obviously, they get wrecked by Minnesota the following week. But, like,
Dolphins in overtime.
They've had some games where they've really fought hard despite the season being toast, right? Your quarterback's down. It's gone bad. Like, again, relative to expectations, this has been a disaster of a season for Washington. It would have been easy to basically quit, tap out, and think about next year, be on the beach mentally. And they haven't. Like, they've been fighting hard and still going on this terrible run of straight losses. So I mean, good for them to just get a win against a team like the Giants.
They're coming back Saturday against the Eagles. They're also the 1 o'clock game on Christmas. I have to say, the Christmas slate's looking weak now, which I'm, good.
I'm not sad about that. Yeah,
hang out with the family. Kind of be half in, half out. Don't have to be locked into Cowboys Commanders at 1 on Christmas Day.
Might even be one where you can, the NFL on their YouTube channel does these little 15-minute highlight condensed packages. Like maybe you could just.
Or if you
maybe
if
you
you
can
don't
get that game
have
in the
Netflix,
highlights.
Netflix.
That's
two
true.
of these games are on Netflix
exclusive.
Yeah, so if you don't want to, fork it over, there's not a lot on the line.
Maybe
on
soon
Christmas
everything
Day.
will be Netflix. Once they take over the entire world.
Hopefully that'll be the case. Anything else on this one? Quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. So while you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors. After a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. All right, man, we're into the 4 o'clock window. 5 games, all starting at 4:25.
Yeah.
Which was nice, right? You don't have to deal with games starting in the witching hour at 4:05. You texted this to me yesterday. I completely agree. I say we lose all 4:05 starts forever. It's either 1 o'clock or 4:25.
Well, my question is simply, if we can decide this random Week 15 that we don't need 4:05 games and they're all going to be 4:25, then why do they ever exist? I'm not 100% where you are in terms of, well, let's just make that the policy. Because there was a period in this where it was like nothing was happening. The games had finished in the one slate and the 4:25s hadn't started yet. And I'm like, now I'm just bored. I'm not. My mind needs to be occupied by football. I'm supposed to be getting 7 hours of not commercial-free football anymore, but at least consistent football. And I don't have that. I've got a 10-minute period where I'm just being pitched random stupid graphics from the 1 p.m.
You
slate.
need that. You need a little break. It's nice to have a little
So
break. I
why
went and
don't
grabbed
we
a
just-
snack. I came back up. It was nice having a couple minutes.
I think we should just designate the worst game in the 4 p.m. slate to be the 4:05, just to make sure there's no period where there's nothing.
They
right?
usually do that unless they don't. Like next week, Jags Broncos is at 4:05.
Right.
What an embarrassment.
Okay, but I think we should just, the worst game in the 4s is a 4:05 game, and we only need one just to make sure
Just
there's
one,
no
okay.
10-minute period where there's no football.
But then it's like the worst game is like a 10-minute island game.
Fine.
There's no winning
But
here.
10-minute bad game is better than no game.
More importantly, we're talking Denver Broncos 34, Green Bay Packers 26. Broncos move to 12-2. Packers fall to 9-4-1. The Denver Broncos sitting atop the AFC by themselves with the Patriots' loss. A game ahead of New England with the number 1 seed in sight for the Broncos. Packers got up early, made some impressive plays, including an awesome Josh Jacobs touchdown, 14 yards.
Yeah.
In tight coverage on 3rd and goal from the 14, kind of similar to that Josh Allen. You have 3rd and goal from the 14, and you still find a way to get it into the end zone. Denver kept fighting back, and it was 23-14 into the second half, but we know the Broncos. They're a second-half team.
Fourth quarter team.
And I would say I think this is the best game Bo Nix played, maybe of his career. Talk more about that in a second, but what were your initial thoughts on this one?
That was an amazing catch by Josh Jacobs. Like, Dre Greenlaw has him absolutely blanketed. He goes up, catches the ball, 2 hands cleanly. Greenlaw's got like a full arm in between his 2 arms, like perfect coverage, exactly how you're supposed to play it. Rips with that arm. Jacobs holds on initially, like strong hands just to keep both hands on the football with a linebacker's arm in between them, and then just takes one hand off the ball, shifts it to his left hand, brings it in. Like, that's an elite receiver play in the back of the end zone. He's a running back who for a long time in his career was talked about as like a problematic receiver. Why can't he catch a touchdown pass? Amazing play by him.
Do you remember when he was coming out as a prospect?
Yeah.
And he was not used heavily at Alabama, but the flashes were incredible.
Right.
And it was like an awesome, he had like a back shoulder or something incredible. It's like this dude looked like Julio Jones on a couple plays. as a receiver. And sometimes that's what happens when you're scouting running back prospects for whatever reason in their offense, and Bama's never really thrown to their backs. They just don't get a lot of opportunities, but Jacobs would flash that ability coming out. It's just funny because coming out, he was low volume, and he's turned into this workhorse back who doesn't have to catch passes down the field all that often, right? Not many backs do. It was really an impressive play by him, though, and just gave me flashbacks to him as a prospect at Bama.
Yeah, amazing play. And Green Bay looked really good for a lot of this game. And then, Denver took over. Their defense started making some really big plays. Patrick Surtain, deep down the field, one-on-one with Christian Watson. That's been exactly what Green Bay has been killing teams with recently. Instead, Surtain, Defensive Player of the Year, goes up and just wins the ball. Like, absolutely makes the play. And on top of that, Christian Watson hits the ground and hurt his shoulder in the process. So that was bad news for Green Bay in a couple of different ways. And then late in the game, you get Denver making plays on both sides of the ball. And then the worst thing for Green Bay is whatever about winning and losing this game, you get non-contact knee injury from Micah Parsons, ACL, done. One of the most important players in the entire NFL out now for their season.
Yeah, I mean, just from a Green Bay perspective first, before we will give proper credit to Bo Nix. At least I will, to Bo Nix. I don't know if the haters were coming after you last night in the instant reaction, Sam. But for Green Bay, I thought, the offense was making some huge plays early on. We've talked about how important Christian Watson is to that offense.
Yeah.
Whether it was last week, catch and run against the Bears, catching the ball down the field, just having the size and speed that he brings to the table on the outside. Their offense struggled after he went down. Now, look, I think there's two things are true. Denver's defense, we already know, is outstanding, and if you have early success against them, chances are they're going to figure it out, like over time. They're just good. They're not going to give up 40 probably. So they did crack down, but I think missing Watson hurt.
Yep.
And then Micah Parsons, man. I mean, my story on Green Bay coming into this year is they were lacking stars, and Jordan Love could be the biggest impact quarterback in that division, and I think he has been. But defensively, Micah Parsons changed everything. And they got picked apart at times in this game, even with Parsons, but losing him to an ACL is a massive blow to this Packers team. Watson should be back but it's not season ending for him. But losing Parsons, who they move around, they already lost Devontae Wyatt up front, right? So now there are multiple pieces up front, but Micah Parsons, one of the most important defensive players in the league, and you could feel that in Green Bay, just the same way you could feel it in Dallas, where they've been awful defensively. Just a huge blow for the Packers.
It is. It really sucks. I mean, Parsons is one of the best players in the NFL, period, and we've seen the impact that he's made to this defense. So it's bad enough whenever a guy goes down, but when you see it, it's like a non-contact, his knee just buckles inwards, you're like, that's an ACL, he's done. It's just, it's crap, because it's like we're mid-December. It's like this changes, with a material way, this changes whether or not Green Bay can win playoff games. Like, this is a huge difference between them winning playoff games or not. Christian Watson, I think, makes another significant difference, not as important as Parsons maybe, but he's the one guy that has something unique in that receiving core. It's an interesting group. I think there's a lot of pretty good players, and when they're all playing at their best, they can all make plays. But Watson's the guy that brings something to the table that none of the rest of them have. Like, that elite combination of size, speed, and potential deep playability, none of them really have that. Matthew Golden's got some speed, but he doesn't have that size combination. Like, they've got bits and pieces of that skill set elsewhere in the receiving core, but nobody's got it all the way that he has. So that changes the passing offense, and then Parsons completely changes the defense. So it's not ideal to lose a game like this, but it's one that Green Bay could afford to lose. The bigger thing, though, is that they've lost their most important defensive player for the year, and then one of their most important offensive players for at least a period of time.
So, look, Green Bay, from their perspective, before those injuries, doing a great job. They're up 23-14. Long run from Josh Jacobs, he had a great game, 40-yard touchdown. It looked like Green Bay was like, all right, we're making a statement in this game against Denver. But Bo Nix and the Broncos did not give up. I said this is the best game for Bo Nix. I know there were a couple passes that he threw into coverage. He had no picks, but he had a couple passes he threw into coverage. So I don't know where it ends up from a grading or whatever perspective. But the number of big throws that he had, as I'm watching this game, watching Denver, and this isn't the first time I felt this, as inconsistent as their offense has been at times this year, and even the biggest Broncos fan is going to tell you that, right? The Jets game or the Eagles game for the first 3 quarters. I mean, they've been very inconsistent offensively. But they've made the comebacks at points. But I was watching this game thinking, I'm always watching these games projecting it to the playoffs. Like, what are we going to see in January? And I'm thinking Denver, even though they're known for their defense, can at least win a shootout. They can at least compete in a shootout. You don't, even for defensive-minded teams, you don't always feel that. Like with Houston, I don't know if Houston really can, if you want them winning a shootout. Can they? Like, I've seen C.J. Stroud play some good football and everything. So, yeah, they probably can. But I think Bo Nix and this Broncos team, if they need to get into a shootout, they can compete. And that includes, the way they beat the Chiefs a few weeks back, the way they competed with the Chiefs last year in Bo Nix's rookie season, the way Bo Nix, I thought, played pretty well in the playoff game against Buffalo last year, even though they had some things go against them and didn't end up close in the end. But Bo Nix dropping absolute dimes down the sideline to Courtland Sutton. 4th and 2, they had a 1-point lead. He throws one perfect on 4th and 2 to Sutton up the sideline.
Yeah.
The seam route to Troy Franklin for a touchdown. And Franklin looking great, adjusting to it and, looking smooth. It was really impressive what Nix and the Broncos did. I think it was the best game for Bo Nix of his career, given it's a playoff caliber game. It's one of the best teams in the NFC. It's a very good Packers defense. I know Parsons ends up going down at the end, but still, the number of big-time throws that Bo Nix made in crunch time to make the comeback again, it was his best game as a pro. And the most telling for me, that if Denver's defense is fantastic, they were giving it up a little bit. They've given up some points against the Packers and against the Commanders 2 out of these last 3 weeks. But the Denver offense, if the Broncos defense isn't perfect, the Denver offense can make some big plays and win in a shootout if they need to in January.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen all the way through this year that I don't know if they can win in a shootout, but they can put up some points in a hurry and come back.
They won in a shootout yesterday. This was a shootout.
Not really.
34-26?
Yeah.
That's a shootout. The defense made some huge stops at the end. This is a shootout. They put up 34.
Right.
They put up 34 against a good Packers defense.
Okay, but they only had to get to 27. Like, this is not a shootout in today's NFL. The point is, though, their defense is so good that they're probably not going to ever be in a shootout. They may be down, and they may have to score and overcome a double-digit deficit, which they're definitely capable of doing. But I think their defense is so good that they're not going to have to win a shootout. But the point is that offense is capable of putting up significant points fast and in a variety of different ways, and that's the important part. Like, Bo Nix dropped a few absolute dimes, largely to Courtland Sutton in the game, who kind of remind you, like, Courtland Sutton's a really good player. The catch he had, like the touchdown, which happened, like, that was the drive off the back of that Patrick Surtain pass breakup that stopped the big play, also hurt Christian Watson, and then they got the ball and started to move, and then they scored a touchdown there. Now we were a one-score game, like a huge sort of sequence.
That was an interception by Surtain.
Yeah.
Right. You keep calling it a pass.
Yeah. Sorry. I absolutely picked it off, like went up and got the ball himself.
That was an incredible play.
And in the course of picking it off, so you get stops a big play, their best receiver is hurt, and you turn the ball over, and then that drive, they end up scoring the touchdown. Drops an absolute dime to Courtland Sutton in the end zone. He roasted Keyshawn Nixon at the line, and then like a fingertip grab, gets his knee down. Now we're a one-score game. Like, that's a huge sequence of a couple of minutes for both sides of the ball for Denver. Late, he has another absolute dime to Courtland Sutton, puts him in position for the red zone. Like, he dropped some really, really nice passes in there. Courtland Sutton is fantastic. The rest of the receiving core is sort of talented. They're a little bit like Green Bay's, where they've got a little bit of everything in there, and they're all capable of making some good plays. And yeah, they're able to put up points and score with people.
And then the last couple possessions, the Packers, with still a chance to win this their last 3 possessions, they go interception, turnover on downs, for -2 yards on their last 3 possessions. So look, Denver had given up. They had given up drives of 89, 75, 70, and 71, including that 40-yard touchdown. I mean, they were getting roasted early on. This good Denver defense. I was in the middle. I was concocting a take that maybe they'd run out of gas in recent weeks here. They had the tough overtime game against Washington. I think the pass rush for Denver they haven't been getting home as consistently. It didn't feel like the walls are caving in as much on the offensive line until it started to at the end. So the defense really stepped up as well. So I think Nick's had, his best game, but the defense overcame a rough first half and into the second half, and then go negative 3 yards on the last 3 drives. Pick, turnover on downs, including, look, Denver went for it on 4th and 3, but just over 2 minutes left, didn't get it, up 8, and we've seen these decisions across the NFL, right? A bold decision to try to seal the deal with a first down. They get stopped, and you could say that's trust in your defense, and they did it. Defense came through.
Yeah. I mean, their defense made a bunch of plays, and neither team necessarily got a ton of pressure or a ton of pass rush in this game. Riley Moss, I think, is one of the most underrated corners in the entire NFL. The dude is getting victimized by flags, but he's making plays. The flag he got in this game was he's got hold of his arm, but that's one of those ones where they're both hand fighting, and he turns and finds the football. It's I don't know how many other corners are getting called for that. I think at this point, his reputation as a flag magnet is now self-perpetuating. And it's officials are looking for it. So if Riley Moss does stuff that other corners are doing, we're like, it's Riley Moss. We're throwing a flag on him. But he had a really nice play earlier in the game. I thought that was a nice play where they flagged him for it anyway. But he's making a bunch of plays. Surtain is kind of lucky to escape getting injured. I mean, he got clocked in the head earlier in the game, where he got a knee to the head, and then a linebacker barreling in behind him kind of bodied him at the same time.
He got checked quickly and right back in.
Yeah, I was like, that looked like it might take him out. And then he's back in the game and ends up making that spectacular interception. So, yeah, Denver's defense was on the ropes earlier in the game. We really rallied late, and like the rest of the team. I mean, this team in the fourth quarter, I don't know that that's necessarily a thing that you can just have as a trait, that in the fourth quarter, we're a fourth quarter team. All the time. That's what you always say about Sean Payton and his teams. They're always a fourth quarter magic team. I don't know that that's actually a thing you can do, but Denver's been doing it this season. And as long as they continue it, that'll buy you an awful lot of mistakes in the first half.
Because the Raiders kicked that stupid field goal last week. Technically, it's the sixth. Not only have they not lost since September 21st, week 3, but the Broncos have now won 6 straight one-score games, because last week counted as a one-score game against the Raiders when it really was not. So, huge playoff implications here. The Packers fall out of first place in the NFC North, as we mentioned before, but they have a chance to regain that next Saturday night in Chicago. So the Packers fall from the 2 to the 7 seed. So they've got the same little roller coaster ride as the Bears. Packers are now the 7 seed. The Lions are right behind them at 8-6. Packers 9-4-1. And then the Broncos, sitting atop the AFC, they've got the number 1 seed as of right now. And they've got the path in the coming weeks. They've got the Jags coming to town next week, and that's a fun game. Mm-hmm. And then at Kansas City Christmas night, which loses its luster. It's Gardner Minshew starting now for the Chiefs. And then the Chargers in Week 18. Broncos-Chargers. That's the last team to beat Denver, was the Chargers in L.A. back in Week 3. So that's the path for Denver to the number 1 seed. Anything else?
Nope.
On this one. It's a fun game. Another fun game.
By the way, last thing. Matt LaFleur said, nobody's going to feel sorry for them or for me. I feel sorry for him.
You do.
I'm bummed that they've lost 2 of their most important players in one game for just unlucky injuries.
I mean, the Micah Parsons thing. Yeah, people want to watch Mahomes play. You want to watch Micah Parsons play.
Yesterday, generally, there were so many important players getting hurt, and I'm like, it makes me annoyed that this sport that we love is so dependent on which really important players get hurt in December.
It makes me annoyed that the NFL is hell-bent on having an 18-game schedule.
I just don't. I mean, whatever. I don't think that matters a huge amount.
Like, if you're a Bills fan the last few years and you're like, we're down 6 starters in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know if our starters are out there, we have a chance to win a Super Bowl. And your entire Super Bowl run is dependent on the health of a few players on either side of the ball. And we see this every year with every team. Why we have to add an 18th game to this? It's already difficult. You go back to the Chiefs, and there's some truth in this. They've played an extended season for 3 straight years, and that just adds up. Plus, when you start when you start the season on a Thursday night and you're kicking things off, you start a couple days earlier. Like, the Chiefs have been worn down over the last 3 years. You don't need an 18-game schedule. I know money and we'll make more money. It's good for everybody. Am I shaking the table?
Yeah. I mean, you don't need an 18-game schedule. You don't need a 17-game schedule. You don't need a 16-game schedule.
16's fine. But yeah,
that's where we are.
Hurt.
And they're probably going to add an 18th one because that's just where we're going, and I don't really care either way. It's annoying that the sport is so determined by just who's healthy and who's not. And really important players going down through freak non-contact injuries are like, well, I guess that's the end of Micah Parsons this year. That sucks.
All right, let's go. Los Angeles Rams 41, Detroit Lions 34. Is this a shootout, Sam?
What did you say the score was?
41-34.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a shootout, the Rams get the win to move to 11-3.
There's like 15 more points in it.
Lions fall to 8-6. Rams sitting atop the NFC. They had over 500 yards of total offense. This was a fun
also a shootout.
Back and forth game. Yeah, 500.
Much more yards. See?
What did Denver have?
More yards, more points.
Denver had almost 400.
That's different to 500.
Sure is.
By quite a lot,
They gave up over 400 too. 400 on both sides. That could be shootout territory.
That's what I'm saying.
Jared Goff had a really good game for the Lions. Stafford, matching them throw for throw. This is a fun back and forth battle here.
It was, yeah. And early, Stafford throws it right to Hutchinson on a screen. Great adjustment from Hutch. Like a tight end screen, right? And he just he was getting thrown one way and then just contorts his body back in the opposite direction, plucks it out of the sky,
back, man.
And then goes on his run. Didn't quite get there. Parkinson saved the touchdown, albeit only for a play. Hutchinson's really good at that stuff. Like, he's not quite Van Ginkel, because nobody is, but Hutchinson's like a legit threat to pick the ball off, not just get in its way. If you put it in his general vicinity, that guy can catch a football.
Yeah. He had 3 picks as a rookie?
Yeah.
Part of his Defensive Rookie of the Year case that year. Rams offense was so good in this one. I think both sides, it felt like the Lions had to do everything they possibly could.
Yeah.
Facing a better defense, right? I mean, the Rams have a better defense.
And they landed some haymakers themselves. They just couldn't stop.
They landed a ton of haymakers.
Yeah.
I thought Amon-Ra was awesome in this game. So they throw the Hutch gets the pick. Goff hits him next play for a long touchdown. Amon-Ra has 13 for 164 and 2 touchdowns. Jameson Williams has 7 for 134 and a score. Like, they created some big plays in this game against a really good Rams defense.
I mean, the Rams are just on this crazy run where, just in terms of points, like 35 against Jacksonville, 34 against the Saints, 42 against the 49ers, 21 against Seattle and their amazing defense, 34 against the Bucs, 28 against Carolina, where a bunch of weird, freaky plays went against them, 45, 41. Like, teams are just not stopping this offense right now. And that was it for the Lions. Like, they landed a bunch of haymakers themselves. They got their interception with Aiden Hutchinson, which set up an early touchdown. Like, a lot of things they made a lot of plays themselves to try and keep this as a shootout and try and keep them in the game. But they just could not stop this Rams offense, and nobody's been able to recently except Seattle, I guess. Now, maybe that changes if Devontae Adams is down for a while and if Puka Nakua's injured or whatever. But, with Devontae Adams there, with Puka Nakua being just amazing, with that running game dominating, with Stafford generally playing really well, other than one rough play where he put it in Hutchinson's air code. Like, it's just, this offense is almost unstoppable at the moment.
High level looking at this game, you mentioned the 2 injuries, right? Puka probably fine. He finished with 181 on 9 catches, including they flipped the field on a dime from Stafford to Puka, set up Kyren Williams' second touchdown to go up. And did they lose the lead at one point after that? But not much. not much beyond that. I feel like what we talked about in the pregame, where the script of these two teams flipped a little bit. The Lions are the underdog. The Rams are just a better all-around team. And remember, the last time we saw them was last season, but early last season. So we're talking a lot of football played in between. And the Lions playing bully ball up front against the Rams' undersized defensive front. That script felt flipped in this game, where Kyron Williams and Blake Corum running the ball at will. Corum bounces it out for a nice touchdown. Like, they added $159 on the ground for the Rams. Lions couldn't get the run game going. They have their issues pass blocking on the interior, which doesn't literally pop up every single play, but you saw it like on key plays, Jared Goff getting popped, getting hit. Like, Goff made some incredible downfield throws in this game, but it just felt like the Lions needed to hit all these explosives in a tough situation just to keep it close. And they did, to their credit. But the Rams are just a better team at this point.
Yeah, they are. And they look really imposing. Was this Tom Brady on the broadcast?
Yes.
They did both of them, actually, but Brady in particular. Like, they just became giddy fans during this game. Like, they just started, like, squealing, making, just excited fan noises when plays were being made. They were like,
Kevin Burkhardt. Yeah.
There's no, like, analysis. They were just, like, reacting to crazy football plays that were happening. There was one play where Goff, like, works the pocket really well, slides out of the way of pressure, works back up in the opposite direction into the sort of gap that was just left, and then hits Amon-Ra across the middle, who then made a nice run after the catch. You're like, that's like Brady's dream play. That's like, this is what I do. This is like the Kurt Warner always sees it through the lens of his own eyes. Yeah. Brady, this is my play. He manipulated the pocket. He didn't take off. He slid and then slid back into the space and then hit a guy over the middle, and then that guy made play. Yes, this is football. Brady was loving life, and they just started like randomly squealing in response to the big plays that were being made left, right, center.
I mentioned it last week. I think Burkhardt's done a really good job of capturing the excitement. They've had a lot of exciting games, but capturing the excitement well in that play-by-play role. And plus, Brady's analyzed much better this year than last year. So,
did you say analyzed?
Analyzed.
It's not what it sounded like.
I said analyzed.
I'm gonna need the tape to be run back on that one.
No, stop it.
Not what it sounded like.
I need more IM8. I'm losing it.
Can we get the chat involved in this? That's not either.
We don't need the chat for anything. I know what I said.
I mean, you know what you say. What you tried to say.
He's an analyst.
It's not what it sounded like.
Jeez.
I'm really happy that Blake Corum looks really good. I thought he was RB1 in that draft class. I really, really liked him. He'd been coming off that knee injury, hadn't quite looked like the same player, and he's just awesome right now.
He just bounced out for his touchdown.
Yeah.
Like lightning quick. Was it did I send you the screenshot, or did you send it to me first? The year before he got hurt, was it 23 when they won the title?
Yeah, where he's like a horizontal.
Yeah, the flexibility in that
nuts.
cut was unreal. And you didn't see it as much
right.
His last year.
Mm-hmm.
But he was, man, he looked good.
I was just looking at that draft class actually now to be like, even with hindsight, is there anyone that you would say is clearly a better running back right now? And he's definitely got a case to be RB1.
So they got the two-headed monster up front. They're blocking it pretty well. And like I said, it's a different world where the Lions used to have the best offensive line, and you could see their issues up front. Rams blocking it pretty well. They're disruptive on the interior. Kobe Turner really disruptive in this game, taking advantage of the Lions' issues pass blocking. So the Lions still have a path. I saw what's his name, Kornacki, last night on NBC. Steve
with the slacks,
breaking it all down.
The TV.
All you have to do is speak confidently in front of a board. You can do it. So the Lions still have a path to the playoffs. It's not an easy one. They've got the Steelers next week, then at Minnesota, and then at Chicago. Chicago has what Steve said was the most difficult schedule in the NFL remaining. So they play the Bears. So there could be a Week 18 game against the Bears that determines the playoff picture, because the Bears have the Packers this week, as we mentioned, then at San Francisco, and then the Lions. So a 9-win team, a 10-win team, and then the Lions at 8-6. That's the Bears' schedule here. So the Lions' path, Obviously, they need to win the next 2 games, and then they might, depending on what happens with the Bears, might have a chance to win and in against Chicago in Week 18.
NFL.com currently has them at 41% chance to make the playoffs. So still alive, but not in great shape.
Yeah, this was a tough one for them. The Lions are the 8 seed as of right now. And then the Rams at 11-3, tied with the Seahawks atop the division. They have the tiebreaker, but they're going to play Thursday night. Battle for the top of the NFC West and the NFC.
And the big thing for them was the Devontae Adams injury, who looked like he just blew a hamstring.
He was playing through a hamstring injury as it was.
That's what I expect to happen every single time I hear that. Like, I have no idea how an NFL player can go out there with a non-100% hamstring and not have that happen. And he just he's running down the seam and just his hamstring just blows out and he hits the turf. And it's like, yeah. I mean, if you're playing with a hamstring that's not 100% healthy, that's exactly what I would assume happens the first time you really open it up and give it 100%. And I can't imagine, like I would assume when that happens, when you really blow it out and it was already pretty iffy, I would imagine that's worse than it just getting pulled in the first place and you having to shut it down. So, I mean, that's probably not a quick return for him, which puts him into the playoffs. And I don't know when you're getting him back at this point. So, you know, this has
hamstrings always touch and go for weeks, right?
So it's been like, you know, an unstoppable offense, but suddenly you're just taking out like the biggest red zone weapon from it and your prime kind of secondary option outside of Puka Nacua. I mean, it's a big loss for them.
That was the other place they were chuckling. They were like, tight red zone. What are they going to do to Devontae Adams? Oh, it's a double team. And then Stafford like rolls out, still almost hits him for a touchdown. Yeah, he not only is difficult to cover in the red zone, but commanding that type of attention now too, opening up the run game and everything else. Yeah. So Colby Parkinson had 2 touchdowns in this one.
Which now all shifts, you know, now he's not there.
Right.
You know, suddenly you can throw all the resources to Puka Nacua.
But it sounds crazy because, like, remember that happened to Calvin Johnson where they just double team Calvin. But, like, just because Devontae is not huge, like Calvin or Gronk or whatever, doesn't mean he still has the same kind of impact in the red zone. So it is a big development for the Rams. So they're tied atop the division with the Seahawks, who got the win 18-16 over Old Man Rivers, Phillip Rivers, and the Colts. Seahawks moved to 11-3. Colts fall to 8-6. Phillip Rivers led a would-be fourth quarter comeback drive to go up 16-15, but then left too much time for Sam Darnold and the Seahawks. A big pass to Rashid Shaheed sets up game-winning field goal. 18-16, the 6th field goal for the Seahawks.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, end of game sequence was pretty nuts. Just a weird game. Somebody sent me this that we've been saying Old Man Rivers sounds like an old film character. It turns out it is. A film called Showboat from 1936 had a character called Old Man River in it. So not quite Old Man Rivers, but it's
close enough.
Basically. So Old Man Rivers.
It was about Phillip.
Yeah, Old Man Rivers, OMR. It kind of went as you thought it would go, really. I mean, he looked, number one, like there'd been that kind of jokey press conference where they were like, hey, Phillip, what do you weigh these days? He's like, I don't know, Greg, you know, more than I did before, but, you know, who knows? I laughed it off, right? And then there was this, like, pregame shot of him in a windbreaker. Like, dude, how much does he weigh? He looks like 280. Like, this just giant, rotund... Like Matt, there was the thing, his Madden character. They put him back in the game because he's now an active player. And Madden had like drawn him up like Jared Lorenzen, like this 300-pound RIP, this giant like 300-pound behemoth quarterback. You're like, man, Madden really did Phillip dirty. Maybe they had a 3D image scan of him at this point. Like they might have nailed it. So Rivers goes out there. Not
exactly Jared, but yeah.
So Rivers goes out there like looking like Old Man Rivers, who'd been putting on some poundage while he'd been working at a high school or whatever. Every time anything happened where, like, you had to, like, you know, the bad snap, or there's one play where he just drops back, slips, and, like, falls over slowly, hauls himself slowly to his feet, and then, like, stumbles forward. And, like, this, can we get the AARP on the phone or something? Like, this is elder abuse. What are we doing here? And then, like his average depth of target was like 4. The ball's coming out instantly. And somehow it's working just enough that they're like ahead in the game the whole way.
They went heavy Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
I mean, the first, 4 or 5 passes were runs.
Yeah.
I mean, plays were.
They ran it was like Taylor, and then we had 2 passes on that first drive where Rivers actually needed to throw, and I really hope that's not indicative of what his arm has right now.
He was throwing the ball so early. Like Josh Downs does a double move.
But the first one looked like last year of Peyton Manning wobble duck down the side, and oh no.
Oh yeah, he didn't have great velocity. I mean, all of his throws, even if they were open a little bit, they were bringing defenders back into it.
Yeah,
he still hit the back shoulder to Michael Pittman.
Yes,
on that comeback drive. You had to make some throws here and there, and he makes that throw, sticks it in there for whatever that's worth.
He made just enough to keep them alive. I mean, it was kind of weird. He ends up with 120 passing yards, right? Like I said, his average depth of target was 4.5 or something before that final heave into coverage. The ball was coming out quick. Jonathan Taylor was 25 carries in this game. That was the game plan. But somehow it was working enough to give them field goals, keep them in the lead. And Seattle's offense wasn't.
That's what was working.
That side of the ball went about as I would have expected it to go. Rivers didn't get himself killed, but it looked kind of sad, right? Watching him play. It's this looks like the last year of Peyton Manning. It's he's still smart. And, Robert Mays had a tweet before the game. It was we're about to see what the human brain, and basically only the human brain, is capable of doing in an NFL football game. And that's kind of what it was. It's the last year of Peyton Manning, the dude's everything about him physically had gone, but he's still Peyton Manning, one of the smartest football players to ever live. We were seeing that with Phillip Rivers, even going up against this modern new defense. He could get the ball out quickly. He could avoid sacks generally. He could operate the offense on a short week, maybe because he'd run it for his high school. But it was that part was working. But everything physically was sort of sad looking. Anytime you had to move, it's dude, this is awful.
He threw the ball so early.
Yes.
On so many times. The Josh Downs play I was talking about, he runs a double move.
Right.
And Rivers threw it so early, he actually didn't get a line on where Downs was going to be.
Yeah.
So Downs took it too far in,
right.
Too far out, or whatever it was. Or maybe Downs was right, but Rivers threw it so early that it was a miscommunication, but he was wide open. He was just, self-preservation, getting rid of the ball.
But my point being, that part of it went about as expected. The thing that made the game weird and interesting and close is that Seattle's offense was not dominating the way, the Indianapolis's defense, despite being down some players at corner especially, was doing a good job, and Seattle was not putting up points. And so for almost the entire game, the Colts and Old Man Rivers was actually ahead.
I thought the Colts defense did a great job stepping up. I mean, there was, JSN dropped one over the middle, and, it felt like Darnold and Kupp and Darnold and his receivers were just off on a bunch. But the Colts defense stepped up. How do you win with the 44-year-old off the couch quarterback? You need the running game. You need the receivers to make big-time plays. You need the defense to step up. I thought the run game was okay to at least take some pressure off, but the defense did a really nice job stepping up for the Colts and at least giving them a chance in the end. That's why it was close. Because you're right. If you said, hey, the Colts are going to score 16 and Rivers is going to dink and dunk and probably not hit a bunch of passes down the field, that's a pretty good descriptor of a prediction of what would happen.
Yeah.
That was the result.
But
the Colts defense did a nice job keeping it close.
It did.
Forcing 6 field goals.
Yes. That part was very impressive, their defensive side of the ball. First start in 1,800 days for Phillip Rivers. First touchdown pass in the same kind of ballpark of time as well. Those are some absolutely crazy numbers. By
the way, the finish to the game, too. The
finish was nuts.
So they go.
So Seattle finally takes the lead after being behind for almost the entire game.
They're up 15-13. We get to see Phillip Rivers. We mentioned Arif's chart, the Phillip Rivers, the number of passes that he has in a close game and under 2 minutes or whatever the cutoff was. We got to see that, right? But they run the ball on 3rd and 10 to set up a 60-yard field goal. They did not trust.
Was it 3rd and 10? I have 3rd and 7 written down.
Oh, 3rd and 7 to get what? to 4th and 3. Okay. To set up either way.
Set up a 62-yard field goal.
But the point was to set up a 60-yard
Right.
field goal. Third and it doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
You're setting up a 60-yard field goal and you're content.
Like they're not attempting to extend the drive. They are attempting
Right.
to get to a 62-yard field goal.
And if you extend the drive, you at least assure that you have the final drive.
Right.
So that was like the one risky thing. On one hand, you have a 44-year-old quarterback with no velocity and a ball-hawking Seattle defense on 3rd and 7. On the other hand, you're going to give the ball back to Seattle and have to make a stop in today's NFL where 55-yarders are like, gimmies. So Groupie hits the 60-yarder to take the lead 16-15 for the Colts. And then Darnold hits Rashid Shaheed for 27. And eventually that sets up the Jason Myers 56-yarder to win the game.
Yeah. Just this was a great example of like how easy it is to get into field goal range in today's NFL. Because they were like trading these shots at the end with very little time on the clock. Yeah, that 3rd and 7 run, 62-yard field goal, nailed it, no problem. That gave Seattle the ball with 47 seconds left to answer. And one play was basically they're in field goal range. They get an immediate pass over to Rashid Shaheed. You're like, well, we're basically there. Myers hits from 56. But then you're like, well, there's 18 seconds left. That's still enough time to get in field goal range. And maybe it would have been if it wasn't Old Man Rivers at the helm. Because, and honestly, I was kind of surprised the way they did that. Because you're like 18 seconds. You've kind of just seen that you're really only one pass away from getting into range. 18 seconds, even if you're taking it at 5 yards a clip, like you got time for 4 or 5 passes in that kind of range.
He only had 11 at the start, after the return, though.
Still feels like you've got more than just let's try one heave into double coverage.
Yeah. So picked off to end the game. The only interception for Rivers, only sacked once as well.
Yeah,
Time he tripped.
that's the big thing. And that was the one where he basically fell over slowly himself.
Just slipped.
But yeah, that's a great example of like the power that the quarterback has to control that sack rate. Their offensive line's really good as well. But it was a good example of like you can,
if you just throw the ball super early, whether there is a receiver there or not,
right? You control whether or not you get sacked by simply getting the ball out of your damn hands.
So Seahawks, they survived, man. It's a survival game for them. I thought their offense, could have done a better job connecting on key downs and at least putting some more points on the board. But they survive in advance. They're 11-3. I keep mentioning for the second straight year, Sam Darnold. By the way, Sam Darnold has, if you're into QB wins, the best record.
And why wouldn't you be?
For any quarterback over the last 2 years, Sam Darnold in the regular season and playoffs, really. So Darnold for the second straight year.
And playoffs?
I mean, it's only 0 for 1 in the playoffs. It's not going to kill his winning percentage. So
the 0 for 1's pretty bad, though. I mean, it's a win percentage of 0.
No, not if you add the playoffs to. If you just say over the last 2 years, including the playoffs. Sorry,
right.
Not and playoffs.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Seahawks 11-3, tied with the Rams at 11-3. And the second straight year, we're late in the season, and Sam Darnold is quarterbacking a team with the best record in the conference. And the game is going to either determine the number 1 seed or the number 5 seed. Got that Thursday night, Rams and Seahawks, the rematch.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I mean, that was a very close game the last time, and Seattle had a ton of turnovers. So if they can, if they avoid that this time, can they stop the Rams offense again the way nobody else except them has done?
Can they do it? 56-yarders like they're nothing. Stupid K-balls. For those who don't know, the K-balls, they've added 6 to 7 yards of distance this year because the kickers can now doctor the ball up at will.
Hell yeah.
All week heading into the game.
That's why Charlie's got 70-plus in him.
Speaking of Charlie Smith, the New Orleans Saints 20.
Damn right.
Carolina Panthers 17. The Saints moved to 4-10 thanks to Irishman Charlie Smith's game-winning field goal. Panthers fall to 7-7. They miss a golden opportunity because of the Bucs loss on Thursday night. If the Panthers had won this game, and we did not know this when we recorded on Thursday afternoon because we hadn't seen the Bucs game yet. Had the Bucs, because the Bucs lost, had the Panthers won this game and moved to 8-6, next week's game against the Bucs, winning in for Carolina. But they missed that opportunity here. They fall to 7-7, so they still play the Bucs 2 out of the next 3 weeks to determine the division. But they had an opportunity to beat the Saints and then potentially lock up the division next week.
Yeah, so very conflicted for this game, for a game that normally would have no particular concern for me whatsoever. But on the one hand, our friend Eric Eager with the Carolina Panthers bummed that they didn't take advantage of that opportunity that they had to really seize control of that division. On the other hand, an Irishman won the game, so that part's good. Also, from a neutral perspective, we want that division to be decided by the games against
just rooting
between
for good football.
Tampa Bay and the Carolina Panthers. So they got to do it a harder way than just beating up on the Saints, but it's more fun for the rest of us. Impressive comeback from Tyler Shuck leading the game-tying drive. Game-winning drive was less impressive. But the game-tying drive was pretty impressive. And then, of course, Charlie took over. He made it from 47. I was kind of upset that he wasn't going to take a shot from 70, which is where they were where were they?
You got to hit the gimmies, though. You got to hit those 47s.
You got to hit the 47s to get yourself the opportunity from 70. But they were showing the pregame warm-ups again. Like, that dude has a 70-plus yard kick in his leg. And at one point, it looked like they were going to have to give him that shot late in that game, until Kellen Moore called one of the craziest plays that's been called in the entire NFL this season, with 12 seconds on the clock and no timeouts.
I don't know if it's that crazy.
It's pretty crazy. He calls a quarterback draw, which can only work if one of two things happens. Number one, the thing that happened, i.e., what's the guy's name? Lathan Ransom, has the dumbest penalty of all time and buries the quarterback right as he's sliding and gets a 15-yard penalty, which stops the clock and moves them into 47-yard field goal range. Or you can get up and spike the ball within 12 seconds of the ball being snapped, which I think is very, very borderline.
All right, so let's go through the history here. Let's work backwards through this game. It's 17-17. What is it, third and what?
Third and, hang on, I got to go find the play-by-play. Third and, it's not even third. Where is it?
So if you remember.
It's 2nd and 10.
So let's go back through history. Kellen Moore is the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
It's the playoffs. It's 23-17 49ers. 14 seconds left in the game. They're at about the 41 yard line. 14 seconds left, 2nd and 1. And the Cowboys call a QB draw.
Mm-hmm.
And Dak runs it for about 15 yards, slides, and the Cowboys cannot get up in time and spike it. And they took a ton of heat for that. If I'm remembering correctly, that was 2021? If I'm remembering correctly, I think they were saying he can run at 10 yards, and he ran 15. And that if he had stopped at 10 yards, Slade got up and spiked it, because they just missed getting the spike.
Right.
Just missed, with 14 seconds left. And so with 12 seconds left, so Kellen Moore's the head coach of the Saints. They run the same play, and it's very much like the Dak play. In this one, they're at the 48, 12 seconds left. I see Coach Dan Casey on X saying the Saints just used the 12-second rule, which I believe coaches look at, and they're like, we have this in our head. You can run a draw, run it for 5 yards, whatever that yard, because it depends on how far you run.
Right.
Like if Shuck ran at 15 yards, the game's over, like when Dak did it. But you might have 5 to 10 yards in you before you can get up and spike it. So this is practiced. So 12 seconds. Dak did it 14 seconds. He ran 15 yards. They were done. Had he run 10 yards, Dak, they would have worked at 14 seconds. The fact that Chuck ran 4 or 5 yards, got popped, which helped to the 15 yards, which he later said he sold, by the way. He said he sold, helped sell the injury so that
I mean, he might have sold the injury, but he didn't sell the getting hit part.
Well, he said he was selling the injury part to try to induce the call, apparently. But I don't think it's a wild play call. 12 seconds, run 5 yards to set up the long field goal. Of course, the penalty helps set up a 47-yarder instead of a
I think it's
much
wild
longer.
Because you can identify the 2 times it's happened in the last 5 years, and they've both been by the same play caller, and they've both failed.
This didn't fail.
It didn't fail. This was an incomplete.
This worked, but then...
Well, it didn't. Nothing about the draw part of it worked. It worked in that they got a first down because the dumbest defensive penalty of the year happened on the play. But yeah, look, the problem with 12 seconds, even if you think you've run that and you think you've got it done in 12 seconds, you can get up and spike it, nothing can go wrong, including one of the things you probably don't practice or probably isn't a huge part of your practice is the 11 guys on the other side of the ball are motivated to hold you up by any second they can find. If a guy gets hold of the ball or if there's some kind of scuffle after the play or anything the defense can do to slow this down by a split second goes from 12 to 11 seconds and you crap out. Like, calling a draw without the ability to stop the clock yourself, absent a spike, feels kind of crazy. Like, particularly when it's not like, everyone else in the NFL is going to run some kind of quick pass. Like, you can still find a way of moving the ball a few yards without that. So it's kind of a crazy play call to me. And as I said, the play itself is reasonably crazy. Nothing like the craziness of burying a quarterback who's sliding, running a crazy play in the middle that you still like. If you told the Panthers this is what they're running, you'd feel pretty good about that. Like, great, we got a really good chance of them not even.
Up a what would the field goal be? So they were at the.
Take 15 yards off what they got, 47 plus
62.
Yeah.
They're going to set up.
So the best case scenario,
right?
The best case scenario is they're going to get this spiked and they take a shot from 62. You'd feel pretty good about that.
Lathan Ransom,
and then there's a really good chance
roughness penalty.
And then there's a really good chance that they're not even going to get the spike away. Like, you'd feel awesome about that. And instead, he buries the sliding quarterback and takes 15 yards on top of it. That was nuts.
I'm not going to say this was riskier, but then they had 9 seconds left. Spencer Rattler had to come in. The announcers seemed confused why they would even run a play and not kick a field goal. It's because there's 9 seconds left, so you want the field goal to end the game.
Right.
Rattler throws one incompletion, and they still kicked it in that left 2 seconds. Like, probably should have thrown 2 incompletions. But anyway, that sealed it. It was a game winner for Charlie Smith, the Irishman.
Yeah. So 62, I was bummed that he wasn't going to get the shot from, what would that have been, 66? Because that was where they were before they ran the draw.
Would that have felt better?
Yeah.
A 66-yard game winner.
Look, eventually Charlie needs to have a 70-plus yard kick to his name. Because why wouldn't you, right?
What happens if he breaks the record with 70? You just
when he breaks the record.
When he breaks the record. Celebrations?
Sure.
In the motherland?
Yeah. They had a little clip. The Saints put it out. The whole locker room is chanting Charlie. The man that won the game for them.
That's why he won't text you back.
That's why. Still haven't got a text back.
You ever had someone chant your name after a big game?
No.
I did once.
Yeah? Yeah, good.
Northeast Regionals back in 02.
The Northeast Regionals.
Scuba. That's what they call me.
That's not your name.
Yeah, that's what they call me.
Yeah.
Well, it was my nickname. Feels good. Feel like Charlie. The most important football analysis is when you can relate everything to yourself.
Yeah.
Everything to yourself. That's how you got to do it. Like, when I was watching Phillip Rivers play yesterday, I was thinking, I wonder how this makes Cam Newton feel. I was thinking that the whole time.
He's so mad that they called Rivers and not him.
He's offended.
The funny thing is, like, he's like, it's like a personal slap in the face. Like, yeah, it is. The NFL is telling you specifically that they believe fat old man Rivers, straight off the couch, is a better option to lead a football team than you are.
And they're not wrong.
And they mean that. Like, they are specifically telling you that, and they mean it. And they might not be wrong. Like, that's the funny thing about that is he's personally insulted by the insult, and it is an insult. Like, they are actively. That's exactly what they're telling you. This is not, you're reading something into it that isn't there. No, that's what they mean. They don't think that you are a better option than 280-pound Phillip Rivers rolling in off his couch and his donuts.
Honestly, amazing that Cam Newton was able to make the Phillip Rivers story about Cam Newton.
Now, I meant to ask you in this game, right? Very early on, you've got like a really nice third down scramble for a first down by Bryce Young. Then you have this crazy, like he pulls up under pressure and like fires like a.
That was sick. Did you hear the reference? They called it a Dan Quisenberry.
No.
The sidearm. He was the submarine reliever.
Yeah. It was like it elevated. Like he fired it around a guy, but upwards. Like the trajectory was raising.
It's incredible.
It was amazing. I'm like, if ever Bryce Young is feeling it, it's got to be now.
It's killing my analysis because in a Bryce Young looked like he was feeling it day.
Yes.
And they got up 17-7. He wasn't, but he did have an 11-yard scramble on 3rd and 10 on one of the comeback drives, but he lost it. You're right. He's now 0 for 1 when feeling. He's lost a game finally when feeling.
So he was feeling it.
He was feeling it.
And yet he still lost.
And then still lost.
Okay.
Because he missed Tataroa McMillan on a big downfield pass. He's missing some throws.
Mm-hmm.
But they looked it's a tough missed opportunity for the Panthers. By the way, it was a Panthers classic in this one. Is 7 total possessions in the first half. Part of that was the Saints, their second quarter drive. They go 17 plays for 95 yards. And that took up like over 11 minutes. So there's a lot of, a few long drives in there. And then we got to shout out Tyler Shuck, man. The touchdown, game-tying touchdown pass to Chris Olave. And Shuck continues to make plays in crunch time here. Make some big plays. He had some big throws to Devon Vele.
Mm-hmm.
Shuck's been very good on conversion downs and just in crunch time. And I think it's a reason for a lot of optimism for the Saints right now, for their second-round pick. They'll still be picking in the top 10, but I think it's something to build off of. He led the team in rushing. You'd see that a lot nowadays where the quarterback's leading the team in rushing. You can't get the run game going. You got to use him on keepers and on some scrambles in this one. But I think he did a really nice job once again.
Yep.
In winning against a potential playoff team here in the Panthers.
Yeah, like I said, the actual game-winning drive was nothing to write home about, but the drive before that, the game-tying drive, was very impressive from Shuck. And yeah, he's been consistently making those plays and looks good for them. And they have playmakers. We've been saying before, there's a lot to throw to, even with trading away Rashid Shaheed. The offensive line is still a work in progress, but there's a lot of playmakers to work with for that Saints team. And yeah, Shuck's been good.
So the Panthers, it's like a missed opportunity, but their opportunities are also still ahead of them. They've got the Bucs 2 out of the last 3 weeks.
It's a weird spot for both those teams, Carolina and Tampa Bay, because you're like, they're both blowing these opportunities to take control. On the other hand, both of them also know that kind of the whole thing is the 2 games between them. We would have been in a really weird spot where if one of these teams had won the game, like the second game, they might have been in a spot where they could have rested everybody in the game between the 2 games, which would have been weird. Not resting people in week 18, but resting them in week 17.
Because there's no wild card.
Week 18.
Because there's no wild card.
Right.
Neither team can make the wild card. Probably
now at least we're in a situation where it's all down to these 2 games. Let's go.
All right.
Asking you shall receive, by the way. Despicable Me on Twitter has brought to our attention Next Gen Stats tweet that Drake May, the chip was working, and it has been recorded, and more importantly, it has now been published, that Drake May reached the fastest speed of his career, 20.58 miles an hour, as he led blocked for Travion Henderson's 65-yard touchdown run, where he got all the way out in front of him and blocked Tre'Davious White. So there you go. That's the number, 20.58. Career high.
It's pretty fast.
When
Travion, who's very fast, and he's out there running with him.
Which, again, just shows you that, it's just, did you get to run 50 yards in a straight line?
Yeah. Your fastest speed's the one where you get to run 50 plus.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. San Francisco 49ers 37, Tennessee Titans 24. Niners move to 10-4. Titans fall to 2-12. Brock Purdy goes 23 of 30 for 295 and 3 touchdowns. Don't look now. I know it's the Titans.
Don't look now.
Brock Purdy, I believe he's up to number 2 in the NFL in EPA per play now. And really nice game for Brock Purdy.
As is usually the case.
So the Niners, I believe, depending on which site you're going to use, the Niners have Mac Jones and Brock Purdy both in the top 10 in EPA per play. We might look back at this season, and of all the good seasons Kyle Shanahan's put together, given the injuries, the fact that he just said yesterday, I have not seen Brandon Ayuk in a month, which, he's out. He's gone.
Dude, that's crazy, that situation.
With all the craziness, the injuries, especially at receiver, one of the better jobs Kyle Shanahan's done. Niners take care of business to move to 10-4.
Impressive game from their offense. Their offense is still cooking. It still has an incredibly high ceiling. Everything looked good here. It's against the Titans. The Titans just didn't have enough on offense at all to answer. They made a couple of big plays themselves, but, clearly second best. The Ayuk thing is kind of amazing. For a guy that did get paid, this would make some sense.
Yeah.
If they were still in the midst of, he was annoyed that he hadn't gotten his contract and maybe felt mistreated or whatever. But, like, they got that worked out in the end. Now, it sounded weird when the reports were what was happening, that, like, they'd kind of reached an impasse. They were literally about to trade him away to the Steelers, and then Ayuk, like, went into Shanahan's offense, was like, oh, actually, I'll take the last offer you gave me. And he had to, like, run upstairs to stop them trading him away. I mean, that's slightly strange just as a sequence of events to hear described. So maybe Ayuk is just crazy. But this is a weird, like, players don't tend to get paid and then just disappear.
Everything about his career has been crazy. He was kind of in the doghouse early on, eventually gets to the point where I think he was a top 5 receiver for a stretch of play,
right.
Ayuk, and then gets hurt.
Such
and
a
then
dynamic
after that,
playmaker.
it's like, done. He's done.
Yeah.
And like you said, usually you get paid, and it's like, all right, you don't hear from this guy. The guy, you stop being disgruntled for at least 2 years after getting paid, until you start to look, oh, maybe I'm not getting paid enough, and this guy's getting paid more than me. You at least get some football out of him, but it's a strange situation there. But George Kittle continues to play great. Ricky Pearsall 6 for 96. Brock Purdy on third down, he was 9 of 10 for 95 yards. Had 8 first downs, including a scramble on third down. That was really the difference in the game. It was the Titans could not stop the 49ers on those key downs. Purdy even had a jump throw. I got to highlight it. A little jump throw.
Yeah.
Right? Because I highlighted the jump throw that he threw for a pick or dropped interception. and I highlighted it on the negative. I got to highlight the jump throw, which I think meant something. That he was kind of avoiding pressure to do it.
Yeah, it was good. It was nice.
It was a nice play. So Purdy was feeling it yesterday, and maybe the cleanest game that he's played all season.
Really nice game.
And I said the same thing about Trevor Lawrence against the Titans last week, but still.
And that's the thing. It's like Titans defense just did not have nearly enough to stop them at all. 49ers offense is still very, very good. And the other side of the ball, again, all you're looking for is signs of life and, green shoots. And I think we saw some of those. Cam Ward had a really nice pass to Gunnar Helm for a touchdown. It was a close game at that point. Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle, had a touchdown. It was a really nice play.
Scramble drill, Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah. Cam Ward, bought some time, found him in the end zone. But Jeffrey Simmons, they had him lined up as like an H-back, sort of slot backfield type of hybrid position, and he ran like a quick out, and it was covered. And then Simmons is like, oh, the play's breaking down. Scramble drill time. Jeffrey Simmons, 300-plus pound defensive tackle, works his way back to the middle, finds space, and is like, hey, I'm open. And Cam Ward hits him for a touchdown.
After a strip sack, too.
Really nice, savvy receiver play from Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah. Simmons is playing great football. I mentioned that on the instant reaction last night. I mean, it's lost in a 2-12 season, but he said he wants to be a part of the rebuild here. He keeps playing hard. He's rushing the passer well. Yeah, he's been excellent in this game. So, or in this season. So really impressed by Simmons. Was impressed by Purdy and the Niners. They moved to 10-4, and so let's start with the Titans. They're 2-12, tied with the Giants and the Raiders. We know the Giants and Raiders will play in a couple weeks, so at least one of those teams has a chance to fall behind Tennessee, who's technically number 3 in the draft order right now. I think what might be most, I don't know, the Titans and Giants both have their quarterbacks, and Cam Ward, some good plays in this one. I love that touchdown to Helm. The Raiders are the most QB-needy team among that 3, of course. So the number 1 pick is going to be really valuable because it might only be Fernando Mendoza at the top in this draft. So that number 1 pick, if it's the Giants or the Titans, the Raiders, Browns, Jets, Cardinals, any one of those teams might give you a haul for the number 1 pick for Fernando Mendoza. Wow. So just keep an eye on those developments in these coming weeks here. Mm-hmm. Niners, they're the 7 seed with the 10-4, right? 6 seed. They're up to the 6 seed. They've passed the Packers at 10-4, and they survived early season with Mac Jones, and now maybe Purdy peaking at the right time. I know it's the Titans, but moving in the right direction.
I mean, I think their offense has. It's still in really good shape. Okay, they've lost, some players since their absolute peak or their absolute heyday, but they are still dangerous. They're still talented. Christian McCaffrey had a good game. Ricky Pearsall had a really good game. George Kittle is still amazing. There is a lot of weaponry to work with that offense, and I think they can still put up points against most teams in the NFL. The question is going to be, what can their defense do when they run up against a more difficult team than the Titans? And that
very tough to trust their pass rush.
Yeah, and that's going to happen in the playoffs. Like, you just start look at the NFC playoff picture and ask yourself how many of those teams can the 49ers defense realistically hope to slow down, and it's not that many.
Anything else on that one?
Nope.
All right, let's wrap it up. Minnesota Vikings 34, Dallas Cowboys 26. Vikings move to 6-8. Cowboys fall to 6-7-1. Apparently, both teams have not 0% chance of making the playoffs, but somewhere between 0 and 1%. So still alive. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Vikings are alive? I thought they were eliminated.
Who's that?
The Vikings.
Oh, maybe they're eliminated. I could have sworn I saw something that said both have.
I believe they're eliminated. The Cowboys have a less than 1% chance.
That's what it is then.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles have to lose out and the Cowboys have to win out.
Yeah.
In the East.
Right.
Best game for J.J. McCarthy, second straight week. He
Again.
goes 15 of 24. It is amazing how few plays they always run, or the J.J. McCarthy Michigan offense. 15 of 24 for 250. 2 touchdowns and a pick, batted pass early on, and then firing some lasers around the field.
Yeah, and it appears like they have just – remember early there was the J.J. McCarthy had come out and said, we're trying to rework some of my technique and fundamentals, and it takes some time to rewire things like that, and it's causing some other problems. Now it seems like they're like, you know what, forget all that. Just do what you do. Don't worry about the technique.
Or maybe it's rewired now.
No, it's not. I mean, if it is, it's been rewired incorrectly, like you rewired it.
What do you mean?
Because some of his technique is awful.
I mean, it's all right. He can zip in some tight window throws. He was even doing that when I told you before, like the EPA thing does not sum up how he was playing. He was playing better than like the second worst EPA of all time. He wasn't playing great, but better than that.
Yeah, he was playing badly, and
it wasn't the worst quarterback play I've ever seen.
No, but it was very
despite
bad.
The stats trying to tell you that it was.
But I think genuinely they have said, look, let's park the technique stuff. Let's park the fundamentals, the all that kind of stuff until the offseason. Right now, just go out there and work on getting the ball to where you want it to be. And the touchdown to Jalen Naylor, I think, was a nice example of that, where it's like, this was fun. It's one of those plays where it's like, if you scan Twitter at the right time, you get a really interesting snapshot of how everybody sees things differently,
Yeah.
And you get like
after a play.
Yeah, and it's like you can see because everyone always people treat Twitter like a play-by-play. It's like everyone just tweets, here's the thing that happened.
Yeah.
And you get a run of them that's like 8 sequentially, and of the 8 tweets, like 6 of them will be different. Like they'll find 6 different ways of articulating what the same, like everyone watched the same thing and interpreted it in 6 completely different ways. My interpretation of this one is this was a really, really good play by Jalen Naylor. It was tight coverage by Deron Bland in the end zone, and Naylor fights through the coverage and gets to the ball first and makes a really nice play. It's not the best pass in the world by McCarthy, but what is encouraging is I think he read it correctly, identified the right thing, and then just took a shot. And early in the season, he wasn't necessarily doing any of those things. And yet, you go and watch the Twitter, and it's like, what a great blast by J.J. McCarthy. Like, awesome. I'm like, I don't think that was that great. I think Jalen Naylor needed to fight through coverage to make that happen and made it look a lot better than it was. But I think it's still encouraging. It's not like it's a bad pass. It's just that
you're nitpicking a little bit. It had a good velocity on it, rolling to his left.
Yeah, but you go and watch the angle from behind the end zone, and you're like, if Jalen Naylor just stays on his track, forget even drifts. If he just stays on his track, Deron Bland probably undercuts that and makes a play on it. Instead, he cut back in front of him and put his body between him and the ball. Like, if
that's what we say Jordan Addison has always done really well, in that when receivers cut off angles and become very QB friendly. Right. It is a good play.
And this is how dependent quarterbacks are on their receivers, right? And how part of J.J. McCarthy's narrative this year is his receivers have not necessarily been helping him out. But this is a play where they did. Like, if Naylor doesn't do that, if he just doesn't play physical and lets Bland beat him to that ball, suddenly you're like, man, McCarthy left that a little bit inside. It's not great location, and, man, it's a risky throw. Like, the analysis on McCarthy's throw is almost 100% dependent on how Naylor plays that at the catch point, and he plays it really well. My point is it's still encouraging either way because it's not a bad throw. I'm not saying it's a terrible play by McCarthy. I'm saying It's a play that's made by Naylor, but the fact that McCarthy saw it, read it correctly, and fired the ball quickly into one-on-one coverage, letting his receiver go make a play, is something he wasn't doing earlier in the season, and that in and of itself is encouraging, even if the play itself, I think, was made by Naylor, who, by the way, has been making a series of spectacular plays for the Vikings this season. Like, he's been arguably their most consistent receiver.
Including one later. I mean, I thought he had a 4th and 3, really nice throw. Looked like either a double move or a scramble drill. And I thought the throw before that, I mean, the third quarter drive, Minnesota down 23-17. J.J. McCarthy hits a seam route to T.J. Hawkinson. That was probably his best throw.
Yeah.
And then the 4th and 3, Naylor hooks up at the sticks and then goes on the wheel. Again, I don't know if it's a double move or a scramble drill adjustment, and J.J. puts it up and away from coverage. I thought those back-to-back throws maybe the difference in the game, because that set up, the Vikings taking the lead, and they never looked back after that.
Yeah. So I think it's back-to-back encouraging games for J.J. McCarthy. The one thing that must be frustrating them at this point is McCarthy and Jefferson just cannot connect. I don't know why, but either McCarthy is missing him or Jefferson's dropping the ball. They're just in this run now where, like, somebody is screwing something up on the play. Even when they do connect, there's an illegal formation penalty. It's probably on Jordan Mason because it was a running back split out wide that covered up the tight end.
That was the negated touchdown.
Yeah. So even when they do connect, it's like we're going to take that touchdown off the board because somebody else screwed up on the play. They just can't. It's amazing. They cannot connect. Like one of the best wide receivers in NFL history through the first however many seasons of his career. And even when the quarterback's like ticking in the right direction, the two of them just can't get on the same page.
The other part of this is Dallas's defense might just be bad too.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not,
remember, they turned the corner first against the Raiders. And we're smart enough, right? We know we're like, it's the Raiders.
Should have been a sign.
It's the Raiders. Yeah. But the next week was encouraging too because it was the Eagles. But the Eagles at the time, we were like, we know that they hit lulls, but like it's still the Eagles.
With hindsight.
And half the game, the Eagles torched them, and then the other half, they bounced back. Then they kind of struggled against Kansas City, and they got smoked by Detroit, and now they got smoked by J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings, despite adding Quinnen Williams, despite DeMarvion Overshone coming back, despite players coming, Donovan Wilson, and getting players back. The Cowboys' defense, maybe not as bad as it was earlier in the year, but they've been kind of torched the last 3.5 weeks since the Eagles game.
Yeah, the resurgence of that defense may have been something of a false dawn.
That's what I'm saying. Sam.
Yeah, it was one of the worst defenses in NFL history for a chunk of the season, and then it improved a bit, and then the last couple of weeks it's just bad, and it probably is. It was terrible early in the year, and yeah, sure they added some good players, but not necessarily an absolute game-changing collection. And it's getting beat up by some good players.
And it was a nice little battle on the other side. Brian Flores is in his defense.
Yeah,
it's funny when I'm watching these games. I'm always like watching the game, and I'm also watching, reviewing all the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games during Sunday Night Football. And so sometimes I'll just listen to a couple plays, and when Tirico, every third down, Tirico's like, Vikings show cover 0 on this one, or Chris will be like, it's more like Chris saying they're showing cover 0. I'm like, that's all they show,
right?
Is cover 0, and then they'll drop out into 17 different types of coverages. It is. We always say it every week. It's unique watching Flores, but against a veteran quarterback like Dak, it was a fun little back and forth watching the cat and mouse game on that side.
Yeah, Flores' defense I think it's the most fun defense to watch in any given week. Jonathan Grenard got hurt in this game trying to grab Dak Prescott late in that 4th down pass where they just about held. That he was already dealing with something. His arm was in a brace or whatever at that point, so he hurt himself. That's not ideal. Brandon Aubrey, by the way, missing some kicks.
Missed a couple kicks.
Outkicked by Will Riker.
They had a good nice fake. He had a first down. Right. He had a first down run.
How you don't see a fake field goal very often.
No, you don't. I feel like you used to see those more back in the day.
Well, until people realized it was almost always a terrible play.
Yeah.
And then they stopped doing it.
There's not a lot of good plays.
This is the one where it's like it's now so rare that it works almost by default.
Because you have no good pass catchers out there.
And just nobody's
defending.
You
have either backup quarterback or your punter.
Yeah.
and you have a kicker.
It basically
you don't
has to
have
be,
any playmakers out there.
It basically has to be the play that they ran. It's like the weird dump over your head to a guy who's just running for his life for like a couple of yards.
Which is fun.
And it only works because they're never expecting it because nobody ever runs a fake kick anymore.
And plus teams are like, if we're going to go for it, we're going to use our offense.
Right.
So Aubrey had a 6-yard run and 2 missed field goals. Strange world.
Yeah.
It was 2, right?
And bad. Was it 2 or 3?
Was it 3?
But bad misses. Like that second one was wildly off.
2. He missed 2. He went 4 for 6.
Yeah. And this is like a couple of times this season where he's been off. But that was a big part of it. I mean, this is a relatively close game, and if Aubrey makes those kicks, it's maybe a different game entirely.
So Dallas falls to 6-7-1. Vikings move to 6-8. With all the good games yesterday, still shocked that this stayed in prime time, but it's the Cowboys. They're in prime time all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What Dallas we got there? Christmas game in a couple weeks. They have the Chargers this week, then the Commanders on Christmas, then they finish with the Giants. See if the Vikings and J.J. McCarthy can build on this.
Yep.
I mean, he's still young. Despite all the stats early on, I was like,
one of the youngest, no longer the youngest starting quarterback in the NFL.
Phillip Rivers?
Yeah.
Is it Rivers?
How far down how would he be the 4th son for Phillip Rivers? How young would McCarthy be in the Rivers household?
He'd be the oldest.
No, he wouldn't. He'd definitely be younger than the oldest, right?
What's he, 20? Oh, no. He'd be like 2nd or 3rd, maybe. You have a list of all of Rivers' kids?
No, I don't. I don't think there is such a – well, maybe there is.
He had like 2 kids on draft day with him, Rivers.
Was it
at NC
definitely
State.
1? Did he have 2?
Back in 2004.
Right.
Which is 21 years ago. So,
like because J.J. McCarthy is younger than Riley Leonard, right?
I don't know. Losing track.
I believe he is, and Riley Leonard is slightly younger or older than Phillip Rivers. They're basically the same age, Rivers' eldest. So that makes McCarthy definitely younger than his eldest, and who knows how. Point is, he could easily be Phillip Rivers' kid.
Could be. All right, that's it for us. Good week. 15 games. Still have Monday Night Football. Steelers, Dolphins tonight. A lot of playoff implications in this one. Cold game for Tua. Rodgers and the Steelers trying to hold on to first place in the AFC North. A lot of fun still remaining. And again, appreciate everybody. We still have the charity drive for Heritage House in the chat, but we hit our $2,000 goal. We'd love to hit $2,500. We'll do the Elf Spaghetti thing, but I'll be going to the mall.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be going to the mall as Elf at some point and hopefully get some great footage for all the listeners.
It's going to be fun to see Elf get packed into the back of a squad car.
You think I'm going to get arrested? For what?
Disturbance of the peace? I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of citation.
I won't be disturbing anyone. Yeah. Anything else today?
No. I think we're done.
Good show from the new studio name. Appreciate our new anonymous billionaire. He's anonymous.
Anonymous. What's our new studio name? We're going to alternate. That's what we decided, right? We're going to go show by show.
The studio name today was the